Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the County of Los Angeles Citizen Redistricting Commission regular meeting. Today is December 8th, 2021, and the time is 7:33 p.m. We will now call the regular meeting to order. For this meeting, we have available interpretation services. For those who are joining via Zoom, please select your preferred language by clicking on the interpretation button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, which is a globe icon. Select English or Spanish. You then can choose to mute the original audio for clearer interpretation. If you do not choose a language, you will not hear the interpretation. We ask and recommend that all participants do select a channel so your comments do not conflict with the interpretation. As a reminder to the public, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to youtube.com/LA County Redistricting. The link to the recording will also be posted and accessible through the Los Angeles County Redistricting website. If at any time any members of the public have any technical difficulties, please let us know in the Q&A and we can work towards fixing the issue. I will now take the roll. As a reminder, commissioner names will be called in a rotating alphabetical order by last name. Commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic and respond when your name is called. Commissioner Jean Franklin.
Present.
Commissioner David Holtzman.
Present.
Commissioner Mary Kenny.
Here.
Co-Chair Daniel Maeda.
Present.
Commissioner Mark Mendoza.
Present.
Commissioner Apolonio Morales. Okay. Commissioner Nelson Obregon.
Present.
Commissioner Priscilla Orpanella Segura, excused. Commissioner Haile Soto.
Present.
Commissioner Cyrus Soto.
Present.
Commissioner Brian Stetcher.
Present.
Commissioner John Vento.
Present.
Co-Chair Carolyn Williams.
Present.
And Commissioner Dorina Wong.
Present.
If you notice regard.
Also, Ty, I believe that Commissioner Polo Morales will be arriving late around 8 o'clock.
Okay.
He had an excused early arrival.
Okay, noted. A few notes regarding public comments before I hand it over to Co-Chair Williams. If you are interested in making a live public comment, you may submit in the Q&A your name, your affiliated organizations, if any, and that you would like to make a public comment. When you are called to make your public comment, you will be prompted to unmute your mic so you can speak. And if you're participating via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. And once called upon, press *6 to unmute and speak. Each person will have one opportunity to speak for 1 minute per discussion or agenda item. And when you begin making your comment, please share your name and any affiliation you may have. Again, the Q&A is for members of the public to sign up to make a live oral public comment. If you have additional comments you would like to make, including public comments for specific draft maps, they can be submitted to the public comment form. You can find the link in the chat or on the CRC website. Submitting to the public comment form ensures that your written comments are accurately recorded. Filling out the public comment form does not mean you have signed up to make an oral comment at tonight's meeting. Again, the only way to sign up to make a live oral comment at tonight's meeting is by submitting your name, affiliated organization, if any, and the specific agenda item you would like to make a public comment on to the Q&A. As a reminder to those who are making public comments this evening, all oral public comments will be through audio only. Okay, there will be no sharing video option. So I'm going to go ahead and walk the public quickly through the public comment form. So again, as a reminder, you can access the public comment form from the CRC website. From the homepage, you can click on Submit Comments for Meetings and Hearings. This will open up a new tab in your web browser. From there, you will need to enter in your first name and your last name where the red asterisks are. Let's just test it out. We'll put just Q and Q. Here you can also attach, if any, Word documents, Excel, PDFs, any supporting documents you would like to be associated with your public comment. From there, you will need to select a specific agenda item. In this example, let's go ahead and select general public comment, agenda item number 4. You then will need to select a specific position. This is necessary for you to submit a public comment. So you can say in favor, oppose, or other. The comment itself is optional, but this is where you would put in the comment. Once you are done selecting the specific agenda items you would like to make a public comment on, go ahead and go down to the bottom of the form, enter in the security code. Press next. It will take you to a verification page. And so verify your information is correct, and then click acknowledge. Once you click acknowledge, it will be officially submitted into the database and then uploaded to the CRC website after tonight's meeting. Okay, with that, I will hand it over to Co-Chair Williams.
Thank you. We're at approval of the agenda. The agenda stands approved. There have been no changes. We're public comments. This is for comments on matters that are not on the agenda. Ty, do we have any people lined up for public comment at this time?
For item 4, yes.
4, okay.
Yes.
Again, this is for comment on matters other than the maps, because the maps are on the agenda.
Okay, so we do have a few listed.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and get that set up. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with Maria Morales. Maria, momentarily you will be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute to make your public comment.
Thank you. My name is Maria Morales, and I live in the city of El Monte. First, thank you to the commissioners for the months of hard work, and thank you for listening to the feedback of our San Gabriel Valley communities regarding our diversity and not lumping us all into one district. The foothill cities are different from the cities that run along the 10 and the 60 freeways, and I'm glad that these 3 options represent the community's feedback, but I think F2 is the best option because it keeps low and middle income immigrant communities in the San Gabriel Valley together. Because working class areas of the San Gabriel Valley do not share common interests with other wealthier parts of the San Gabriel Valley. The pandemic has exposed how different cities in the San Gabriel Valley are so different from one another. Please keep the foothill cities separate from us as you make modifications to those maps. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, and we'll regard your comment as being for item 6A, so we will remove you from the list for 6A. Ty, who's next?
Next, we have Adele Andrade Stadler. Adele, you will be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute. Okay, Adele, whenever you are ready.
Yes, thank you so much. I too am actually speaking on an item on the agenda, which is the map in question is F2. I live in the city of Alhambra. I'm a councilwoman and a former school board member, and I want to see 2 supervisors representing the areas of San Gabriel. I believe that our immigrant communities deserve representation, and that would mean that they would need to be in 2 supervisorial representatives. And so F2 is the preferred map for me. I appreciate all your hard work. We're almost near the end here. So thank you very much, and happy holidays to you all.
Thank you. And again, we're asking for, at this time, for public comments for things other than what's on the map. We'll have an opportunity to provide comment on that a little bit later when we get to that agenda item.
Next, we have Patty Lugo, who will need interpretation services. Patty, you will have 2 minutes.
Sí, buenas tardes, miembros del comité. Mi nombre es Patty Lugo. Soy organizadora en Pomona. Trabajo en informarle a mi comunidad de los programas existentes del condado y del estado para que puedan ellos permanecer en sus hogares durante estos tiempos tan difíciles. Los llamo para agradecerles por desarrollar 3 opciones finales, todas las cuales mantienen a Pomona dentro del Distrito 1, junto con nuestras ciudades de clase trabajadora del Valle de San Gabriel a lo largo perdón, del Freeway 10 y 60. Yo viví desde que llegué a este país en la ciudad de La Puente, en West Covina y en el este de Los Ángeles. Y lo que tienen en común estas comunidades son familias trabajadoras como la mía, donde yo me desarrollo. Ahora que trabajo en Pomona, aprecio sinceramente que no se nos deje como un pensamiento solo porque estamos al borde con el condado de San Bernardino. Por favor, mantengan a Pomona con comunidades de interés en el primer distrito para poder seguir abogando por los recursos que nuestras familias necesitan. Recursos que no están pidiendo al mismo índice en comunidades ricas, como las ciudades al norte del Freeway 210, en el Valle de San Gabriel. Muchas gracias.
I might suggest, I think the public is still confused. These comments are supposed to be when we discuss the maps. This part of the discussion should be not related to maps. So Ty, maybe you can look at those who put down 4 and 6. And I maybe can go through and we can just do a confirmation before we call them all up.
Okay. So next we have Deborah Mendez and Gayla, just to confirm, would you like to do the confirmation orally or through the Q&A?
Since we're doing this virtually, it's a little bit tough, isn't it? I guess we see if they still want to come up or if they want to talk when it's time to talk about the map. So maybe when you go to call them up, we can move it on.
Next we have Deborah Mendez. Deborah, you will have 1 minute. Please confirm if this is not about maps.
My comment is about maps.
Okay, so we are going to move on to the next one. Thank you. Okay. So next we have, going down the list here, Jose Ruiz. Jose, you will have 1 minute, and please confirm if your comment is about maps or not.
Hi, good evening.
Jose, your sound is very, very low.
Oh, okay. My question or my comment is related to maps. So I think this is a good time for me to wait.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have Nick Gaines, specifically saying not about maps.
Let me just suggest, since I think the public was confused, why don't we have people sign up right now if they want to make a general public comment? Because this is taking too long.
We have 2 more.
Okay.
So next is Nick Gaines, who specifically said not about maps. So Nick, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners. You're really in crunch time now. At the core of what you guys are having to deal with is what to do with the decline of the Black population in LA County from gentrification, displacement, Black erasure. And it's a really difficult decision you're going to have to make of how to create a District 2 that is of equal population to everybody else and preserves the Black voting power in that district. Supervisor Mitchell was elected in coalition with other groups. She's going to be the supervisor for the duration of the maps, whatever the configuration that you adopt tonight. So I hope that you keep that in mind, that none of these maps favor or disfavor her as per your criteria, and that you should all feel comfortable that whatever map you adopt, there will be a Black supervisor, the candidate of choice for that community in District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is a comment about the maps, so we will strike him from the 6A as well. Let's go on to the next one, please.
Okay, next we have John Schmitz. John, you have 1 minute. Please confirm map or not.
Map related. Thank you. I'll wait for later.
Thank you. Next, we have a hand raised. Barbara Vera. Barbara, you will have 1 minute. Please confirm map or not. Okay, I believe Barbara has left. Okay, with that, I believe that is all for agenda item number 4. Co-chairs, would you like to close?
Yes, public comment on, general public comment is closed right now. Thank you. Move to consent items. Action item 5.
So item 5 is for approval of the minutes. We have 3 meeting minutes to approve: November 29th, December 1st, and December 5th meeting minutes. Are there any corrections, revisions to any of those meetings minutes?
I see a hand from Commissioner Holtzman.
Yeah, I always have to make some adjustments. I note on the, can we just take them one at a time? One set of minutes at a time?
Sure.
On the first set, what is it, November 29, page 2 at the bottom begins the section maps posted for hearing number 3 for December 1, 2021. And says here is a visualization of the 2 current map options. There's visualization shown talking about where they were found. I mean, everything on the next page, page 3, is really unnecessary in minutes because it doesn't really talk about any action that was taken. So I would suggest deleting that section that starts at the beginning of, at the end of page 2 all the way through page 3, and then picking up with what's on page 4. And then I have just one other, actually a couple of things here. I took the time to look at the minutes. The first line of page 5 says the draft ad hoc working group map options, for example, or e.g. map OP 66, need to be adjusted. Since this is a report of what was said, that should be needed instead of need. And here, I'm not sure who said this. It doesn't, the minutes don't say who said that. So it's maybe right before that, we can insert the name of whoever said that and the word said. Let's see what else. On page 7, it's the same thing. Okay, I was wondering who they is when it said they adjusted map OP66. Perhaps to be clear, that should be one working group adjusted map OP66. And it would be good if the new number that was assigned after the adjustment was in the minutes there. And then on page 8, it says that I made 2 suggestions. The second one was only produce a short report that shows how the final map meets criteria as per the election code. But I said it was extra work to do it now, that we could do a longer work after the deadline for the required work. But I don't know. I don't really, okay, I don't have specific language to offer as a suggestion there. And yeah, the name given, I don't think it was exactly the name I gave for renaming at the bottom of page 8. But since the motion failed, I don't think it's important that we correct that. So anyway, those are the notes I made going through this particular meeting's minutes.
So other than the tweaks of needed as opposed to needs and identifying the person who said it, is there a problem with having the maps shown there where it says we looked at these maps, or here are the maps we're going to consider at the public hearing?
Well, you have to change the language there. You could say the public saw a visualization of the 2 current map options, whatever that means, the 2 current map options. I just think it's superfluous and makes the minutes too long. So, because it's basically cribbed from the agenda, I can tell. If you really think that part of the agenda needs to be repeated in the minutes, edit it to match the tense required for minutes rather than agenda.
Any comments, additional revisions, questions regarding the November 29th minutes? Anyone else feel, as Commissioner Holtzman does, that we should change the draft to delete references to the maps that and show the maps that were part of that particular meeting? Commissioner Wong?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Co-Chair Maeda. Actually, I wasn't going to respond to that suggestion. I don't believe it's an important point, and I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. I'm wondering if perhaps what we could do, for these, what I consider minor changes. I mean, I've seen the need for minor corrections or edits or whatever. What I would suggest, instead of having us to go through all of these, is I usually just forward it to Gayla, and then she mentions it at the meeting. That might be just a little more efficient than, just kind of taking time to go through all these, what I consider very kind of minor edits, as my suggestion. Thank you.
I've suggested a similar process, but we haven't had the opportunity to do that. We need to have the corrections though noticed with the meeting notice when we're going to approve them.
Gila, and then Commissioner Stetcher.
I just want to make a general comment about why we are including the description of the maps that are under discussion, is because they have been changing. The public has been very concerned about what maps are these referring to, and it's to document it so they don't have to go back to the agenda and they can obtain the information right there. So it's for the convenience of the public. So just something to keep in mind.
Mr. Stetcher? You're muted.
Thank you. I'd like to move that we adopt the minutes with the amendments suggested by Commissioner Holtzman, specifically with regard to the description of maps, that it be put in the past tense so that it describes what happened at the meeting, and the other minor changes in wording, etc.
That's a motion. I guess
Yes.
we need a second.
I'll second that.
I was going to second. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Let's go ahead and vote on that, and then I'll have a suggestion for the next two ones as well. But let's take roll on that.
Commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic. I will now take roll call. Commissioner Holtzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenny?
Yes.
Co-Chair Maeda?
Aye.
Commissioner Mendoza?
Aye.
Commissioner Obregon?
Yes.
Commissioner Haile Soto?
Yes.
Commissioner Sider Soto?
Yes.
Commissioner Stetcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Vento?
Yes.
Co-Chair Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioner Holtzman, do you have similar minor corrections to December 1st and December 5th?
Let's see, I'm looking at December 1st. Yeah, page 3.
Okay, but before you
has a
get
similar-
there, may I just suggest that we put on, we table the further consideration of the 1st and 5th minutes. If you or any of the other commissioners have changes along these lines that are wordsmithing, I'm not saying it's not important, but those kinds of changes, rather than take them up right now, that you provide those changes to Gayla. She can indicate what those changes are, amend the agenda if necessary for the next meeting, and do it that way. That way we don't have to spend this time that we should be working on maps and postponing public comment on maps as well. How do folks feel about that? You can nod your head if you're in assent, in general. I see mostly nodding heads. Let's do that rather than take up the public's time with this as well. Okay. Next, 6A, consideration of potential adoption of maps. We want to present some items to the public and then take some public comment, and then the commissioners will get into it, into the discussion. So Gayla, do you want to start on that?
Yeah, this is just a slide overview again to remind the public that what was discussed yesterday at the public hearing was option B3, option F2, and option G1. At the public hearing, we did go over the scorecard. In terms of these three options, the ones that are most compact are B3 and G1. All of them produce at least 2 majority and minority districts based on total population and CVAP. F2 produces actually 3 in terms of total population. The splits have basically been fixed, and all of them are improvements over the COI. There are a couple other documents I wanted to quickly show, and they are posted very late because to put together the public comment summary, we had over 200 pages. But there's a document posted on the website, and basically what it is sort of a Reader's Digest. And these are not all of the comments. What they are comments about changes, modifications. They do not address when people said, I support this map, I'm opposed to this map, and this is why. And they're grouped by area. So all the AAPI type of comments are together, the Beach City comments are together. You can go on down Crenshaw, et cetera. So it's a 14-page Reader's Digest, and it includes the comments we received prior to today's meeting. There is one exception which has been posted to tonight before the meeting, and we received from Inner City Struggle specific changes to map F2. So those are available for you to review as well. There's one other document I wanted to share with you, and it is not showing up here. Hold on. There it is. ArcBridge put together a list of all of the city's unincorporated areas and the CSAs within the city of Los Angeles. And what we've now done with it is we've highlighted, you'll see if it's not highlighted, it means on all 3 map options. For example, for Agora Hills, they are all in SD3. For Alhambra, they're all in SD1. So we thought this might simplify it for the public and for the commissioners to really focus on the highlighted areas where there may be differences. So if you go down to Carson, it's actually been put in different superciliary districts on all 3 maps. A couple of other ones, you go to Cudahy, 2 of the maps have it in SD4, 1 has an SD2. There is another tab that brings to the top all of the ones that where there are differences. And you can sort these by the name of the city, you can sort them by the plan number, however you want to look at it. But we thought it might be a useful way when looking across the maps. So that's sort of a quick synopsis of digesting all of the wonderful public comments you had received yesterday and going into this meeting. And I'll turn it back to the co-chairs.
I believe Commissioner Kenny has her hand up.
Yes, Gayla, the digest of the comments, does that include written comments as well as oral comments?
So they are focusing on the written comments submitted because you heard all the oral comments. The oral comments, there are quick paraphrases that are in the draft minutes that the co-chairs are reviewing at this point.
Is this the point at which we're going to talk about what the working groups did for the various maps? Okay. So at a prior meeting, the commission decided to appoint working groups to look at some of the map options. So one group was going to look at the B series of maps options, and the other was going to look at F and its child G. those two working groups. And they've been meeting a couple of times, at least since the last, I guess since the last public hearing, not the fourth one, but the third one. And we wanted to show the full commission as well as the public the work that had been done on that. So I guess, Ty, can you show us the map option for B? And in particular, the new version, if you will, that the working group had been working on.
So this is the version that ad hoc working group worked on, modifying option B3 with G1 marrying the two.
So one of the things that the commission directed the working group to do is to refine the B map. I think it was B2 at that point, and look to see to what extent principles or ideas or shapes or whatever from map G could be consistent with or integrated in with the B series. Because one of, clearly there's been support, a lot of support for B and F, and now and F's child G. And so we thought maybe there's some ways to consolidate. So we did look at these maps. We superimposed G onto the original B, onto the B2, and we made various changes. And I'm sure the working group can supplement my description, but among the things we did, and all of these changes are documented in in charts or information that we are posting to our agendas and so forth. But they are all attempts to do a number of things, certainly to respond to public comment, to make the adjustments that we heard a lot of people make at request. But let me just give you an example of one. So one comment we heard a lot of is with reference to District 2. Folks wanted to have Carson and Dominguez Hill University, Cal State University, Dominguez Hills to be moved into District 2 from District 4. And so we decided to see what that would look like. We did that. That was also part of G, I believe. And in order to do that, there were some other areas, Carson, and there was East Carson, and then there was a narrow strip, which is essentially Harbor Gateway. So we moved all of those, which were all adjacent to each other, from 4 to 2. Of course, doing that, it's a significant population shift. So we had too many people in 2 and not enough in 4. And another comment we heard is to keep the SELA, Southeast LA communities together, which we've done, but we decided to move those out of 2 and into 4. And that includes communities such as Vernon, Firestone, Huntington Park, Bell Gardens, so forth, some of those communities. We did that, moved it into 4. And then, of course, that caused some ripples with regards to 2. I'm sorry, with regards to 1. So you can see that it's more than a puzzle. It's more like a Rubik's Cube where you get one district the way you think you might want it, and it changes the way the other districts look. So you have to continue to make adjustments as you go. With regards to District 1, we heard some testimony that Temple City wanted to be with Arcadia. And so we moved Temple City out of 1 and into 5.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have a point of information. You said that the logs of the working groups changes to the maps are posted to the website. Can you point out where they are? Because I don't see them.
So I definitely know that from the previous iteration until this iteration, they were, and these maps have been worked on even as late as not the B version, but the F version have been worked on at 5 o'clock today. So those are not going to be posted to the website yet. So we're revealing what these are. We're showing you what they are. They will be posted, in due time when we can do it.
Okay, what would a log document be called, so I know what to look for?
Okay, the previous one is somewhere on the website. I don't know exactly where it's kept actually, but is it in the part of the agenda documents?
I'm not sure actually what you're referring to. There has been earlier ones where the working groups, when they were first forming the first maps to put forth, those are maybe what you're referring to. In these cases, the documentation is what was the base map, then which we can call the grandparent, then the grandchild and the child, all the different offsprings from there. That's the sort of the iteration lineage of all of them, which is why they're numbered B1, B2, B3.
So just to help clarify, on the meetings page for the previous, from the previous iteration of the ad hoc working group, it was included with the synthesized public comments from public hearing number 3. Commissioner Holtzman, if you would like, I can navigate, but also co-chairs, if you think that would take too much time, let me know.
So synthesized input from public hearing also contains what the work groups did?
So from the previous iteration of the ad hoc working group. So from synthesized public comments from public hearing number 3 with notations on changes made.
Oh, so you combine those two. Okay. All right. So, and then I see there's synthesized public comments from number 4 somewhere. Where are those? Hang on. I thought I saw synthesized public comments from hearing 4. But I guess since that was yesterday, it's not up yet. So that's where to look for what the working groups have done as well.
The working group is presenting their materials to you all for the first time. So this will be the comparisons for tonight. You'll be seeing them.
So the step-by-step changes, though, we'll see those in a document later.
You're going to be seeing the before and the after, what was done with, in this case, you'll have the prior B and the prior G, and they're showing you how they've combined them. So it's going to be documented with the maps. The same thing with F. You'll see the changes they have made to the F map.
And a representative of each group is going to highlight the changes that each group made.
That's
some of the changes, not
right
all.
now. That's what they're trying to do.
Okay, thanks.
Stetcher.
I was just going to ask what we're going to refer to this as, or are we going to wait until the full commission decides if they want to give it a title?
I think that's the practice we've been following. So there's no name for this one other than the working group tweak of B2, I guess it would be.
I like that name.
At this point.
Good name.
It hasn't been posted or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on a little bit. We heard definitely loud and clear, the Valley wants to be kept whole. Among the things that were requested is the communities at the top of Sylmar. Let's see what my list is.
Co-Chair Maeda, would you like me to superimpose or overlay the original map?
Sure. That might be helpful. Oh, here's my notes.
And also for information, Ty, if you could overlay the shapefile of the Valley so that people can see what's been left out from the Valley.
And before we get there, though, let me do it this way, because we did do that when we were looking at the B series. But among the things we moved the areas of Sylmar, San Fernando, Pacoima, and Sun Valley, and some surrounding areas from 5 to 3. So that was a significant change. It's fine if you want to now, if you have that available to superimpose the Valley map.
Give me about 15 seconds.
Okay. The biggest difference there is going to be always Glendale and Burbank.
They're part of the Valley, right?
Well, so that's the issue is Glendale and Burbank, the Valley considers them to be part of San Fernando Valley. those two cities, or at least some representatives of Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, say that those three should be kept together. So that's an issue. And the other concern is that District 5, the North County, needs population desperately, has to get it somewhere, has to either eat into the San Gabriel Valley, which it does to some extent, and or the San Fernando Valley. It's simply not possible to create a District 5 without having population from one of those two valley areas.
Yeah, my 93 does that.
So
Keeps
this
Burbank
is
in the valley.
this is the map of San Fernando Valley that I guess VICA provided and superimposed. So you see, I think it's fair to say we capture most of the land area. Population-wise, I'm not sure exactly what the population numbers are to that. But the biggest differences are Burbank, Glendale, and the northwest side of the valley is an area that has been in or out of District 3, but right now, the way we've got it, it's part of District 5 for population reasons.
Coach Maeda.
Yes.
Would you also like to mention the percentage of the San Fernando Valley that is kept whole? Because I think we discussed that.
I haven't written it down, but if someone did or knows.
I believe it was a rough estimate, about 72%.
72%.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so having taken away a little bit then from District 5, we had to find more population for District 5. So among other things, we got a little bit from Temple City, but we also put in, I think, Walnut Island as well from District 1 into District 5. That was more difficult. We realized the shape is not as compact, is not as nice, but there has been some COI testimony that there's some commonalities in that community, those communities with the foothill communities that are in 5, and so that's what we did. One other thing I think it's fair to say is we also looked at the Whittiers, and that is the border between, right now they're in 1, but they are joining 4. And we looked at whether it might be possible to move the Whittier into from 1 to 4. But to do that, then you would naturally want to take the unincorporated areas of Whittier, the North Whittier and other parts of Whittier, as well as La Habra Heights Island, Santa Fe Springs, La Mirada, and it turns out that it was not possible to do that in terms of keeping the population deviation where it needed to be within, give or take 10% for all the districts. So that's where we ended up with. We understand it's not a perfect map, but I'm sorry. At the top of 2, since we gave up the population from Southeast LA from 2 to 4, we had to have more population from 2, so we went up a little bit and took in Culver City and some of the mid-cities type areas there, various smaller communities that came into 2. So those are the main kinds of changes that we made. I think it's an improved map. It reflects undoubtedly some compromises, but it is better, I think, in achieving some of the things we've heard in the public hearings than the prior version of the map. And so if we're going to consider this map further, I would commend this to the commission's consideration for adoption with a new letter, I guess. Any questions or clarification or any other comments from the working group on that?
We also included some portions of downtown Los Angeles in District 2 as well.
Could we, Ty, can you superimpose the G? Okay. So Commissioner Franklin, I don't actually remember which ones we added and which ones we subtracted from that particular area. Do you recall what we did there?
I believe Koreatown, Little Tokyo is included. Not Thai-town.
Okay, weren't those part of it already or not? We'd have to go back and check to see whether they were the prior iteration or not for those, but they are currently in District 2. Any other questions for clarification?
Commissioner Wong?
Yes, so it looks like, so I can't quite tell. So is Burbank, Glendale, and Pasadena all together out in 5?
The Tri-Cities are in 5, yes.
Okay, okay.
I should also mention, I believe in 2 now, I think Commissioner Franklin is right, that in 2, Little Tokyo, Chinatown, and Koreatown, I think historic Filipino town as well, are all in the same district, District 2 right now. Not sure about Thai town, whether we included that or not.
Thai town is not included in District 2.
Okay, so the issue with Thai town is it's separated from the others to a not insignificant degree, and so it would have to be a reach up to grab it. Commissioner Holtzman.
I guess Ty knows all about Thai town because he's the mayor of Thai town, right? No,
I'm not actually Thai though, but
about your name. Anyway, anyway, you gave a statistic that's the percentage of the San Fernando Valley that's captured in one district. What is, I think, also very important for the Valley's voting power would be to know the percentage of the district's population or voting age population that's in the Valley. Could you provide that?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
My question is, what is the percentage of the voting age population in the district there, District 3, that resides in the Valley? That's different from measuring the percentage of the Valley that's captured within District 3. I'm talking, so, because that actually is close, goes more to the question of whether the Valley has sufficient voting strength to elect one of its own.
Okay, I don't think any of us did that, so it would have to be calculated.
Thank you.
Any other clarification questions? Co-Chair Williams, you want to talk about what your working group did?
Co-Chair Williams, you are muted.
Thank you. We're looking at map F.
Right.
Okay. And we'll start with the original. I think it was.
One moment.
Okay.
Okay, so here is the modified version of F from the ad hoc working group with superimposed F2.
Okay. Can you make it a little larger?
Is there a specific area?
Let's start one of the, okay. Let's
You
start.
can make more of the map show on screen if you go to view and put the district window in a separate window. You go to the view tab and just click on district window.
Let's start with one of the biggest differences. And I'm going to ask my the working group to chime in as well. Let's start with District 2, because I think that's where there's some changes. One of the changes that we made and which we've heard feedback on was taking District 2 out to the ocean. One of the things that concerned us in the original map was how do you include LAX in District 2 and still have, you know, contiguity and compactness when you deal with the maps. One of the things we considered as we looked at this is that LAX impacts a number of communities in terms of noise pollution. There are other environmental concerns there. And so we look at the communities that are impacted by LAX, then we think they should all be included in that same district. Can you highlight those areas a little bit more? We looked at, I think we had an environmental map. You could see some of the impact in those areas. So we definitely took District 2 out to El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, and other areas of the Redondo Beach. Yeah, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach.
Hermosa.
Okay, so those are now in District 2. But again, we were looking at the environmental issues in those areas, and we think it's consistent. It's a lot of those with LAX. If you go to, let's see.
May I, Commissioner Williams, also mention that we felt having a District 3 that went all the way from San Fernando down to Redondo and to the peninsula did not define a coherent community of interest, and it was artificial and elaborated, and we wanted to try to make District 3 be more compact and more meaningfully reflect geographic, cultural, and other shared norms and values. So removing some of the tail also served that second purpose.
Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit more about District 3? I know there were concerns about what do we keep in the valley? Commissioner Stetcher?
Well, we made somewhat smaller other changes to District 3 to try to incorporate more of the geographic San Fernando Valley, but also be sensitive to the distinct character of some areas. So on the upper left portion in that Canoga Park, Hidden Hills area, we moved a couple of the horse communities out of District 3 and into District 5. That's also directly across to the east of Sun Valley. We moved an area that had been in District 3 into District 5 because the comments we got from the public about their connectedness to similar rural communities in their area. But those were small changes relative to the larger ones on the south part of District 3.
Okay. Can we move down?
I'm wondering if we could superimpose the map of the San Fernando Valley on this map.
One moment.
While Ty is doing that, these two working groups, with the exception of the chairs, did not interact with one another. And so it's somewhat interesting that we came up with solutions that were very similar, starting from very different places.
So true.
Yeah, and we don't know the percentage of the geographic area of the valley that's captured in District 3, nor the percentage of District 3 voting population that is that reside in the San Fernando Valley.
Okay, is that any other questions so far? Okay.
Yeah, so just to clarify, so I think you can find out like what the voting population, total population, voting population, and citizen voting population, right? Are you so you know, when you move around these different groups, so we can find that out, right?
For a particular area? Ty, you
For
want
the
to-
whole, yeah, for each district.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
we have that.
Yeah. Oh,
We
you
have
have that.
that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, can you bring that up, Ty?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Okay, thanks.
There it is.
That'll help. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so you can see what we do have some majority minority districts. We have 2, and we were looking at, especially in District 2, keeping historic communities together. Okay, let's see some of the other changes. Let's look at, okay.
We also tried to keep the individual Asian American communities intact within a district and not split them over district boundaries. And there is 1 or 2 spots where that doesn't happen on this map because of limitations of the cell sizes. So we want to keep all of historic Thai Town together. We can't do it when drawing with RDUs, but it's in our notes that ArcBridge should do that in the final map and include this little rectangular area that Thai is highlighting there with the rest of historic Thai Town. So that was just a limitation of the software that we're working with, but it will be resolved in the final map.
Is the white outline the prior map?
The white outline is F2, I believe. Is that the one you laid out on this time?
Correct. The white outline is a superimposed layer of draft map option F2.
And yeah, so that's the previous map, and these are the changes that we made.
Am I to understand that reach up into from District 2 to Westwood was eliminated?
Yes.
Thank you.
As Commissioner Maeda said, Co-Chair Maeda said, sometimes when you make a change in one area, you have to look at how do you balance those. And so as we started to look at the changes, as we were looking at the eastern side of District 2, we started to look, and we needed to make changes to balance out District 3. So Westwood did move up to that area, moved to District 3. I'm going to ask Commissioner Saida Soto if she would chime in here.
Yeah, thank you. So I just from my notes, I know we made modifications on public comment to moving West Hollywood and the Hollywood Hills back into District 3. And then we also wanted to take a look at addressing again what were some of the challenges we were hearing from our AAPI communities in the central LA. So looking at Koreatown and where the boundaries are, where they're defined by the city, et cetera. And so we made some modifications there to try and keep all of Koreatown together in District 2, making modifications to keeping Little Tokyo, Chinatown, I believe, in District 1. We've already talked about Thai Town. And then there's the that cutout in District 4, which abuts Koreatown, that's Pico Union. Sorry if I'm moving too fast. Let me know if I should slow down a little bit.
Which area would you like
So
to?
if you go to the border, the Pico Union area, border between 4 and 2.
Or 1 and 2.
1 and 2, sorry. I know that that's an area, I think through public comment, we heard that that rectangle right there is part of Koreatown. The population there, I think also identifies as Pico Union. So again, those are just areas that for now it's in District 1, but I think for further conversation. So we wanted to point that out. And then if we move east into District 1, in the previous iteration, we had moved portions of sort of that bowl there, that's Rolling Heights, Diamond Bar, and La Habra Heights. We moved those out of District 4 into District 1. Some of that was to balance population, but also, we had, I think, heard public comment in past that those should be kept in District 1 because there are communities of interest there, with the AAPI community being a community of interest that had spoken about not being split into 3 districts, but rather 2. And I think, and then we also moved Montebello back into District 1 from District 4. And I can't see now, but I think we left Pico Rivera in District 4. Right.
So I believe it's moved Pico Rivera from District 1 to District 4.
District 4, yes. Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Ty.
We had some conflict around the Florence Firestone area. I know the Sailor communities felt it needed to be there. We heard other conflicting comment about it needed to be a part of District 2 because it's connection to that historic, I think, Central Avenue, Alameda Avenue. Right now, we left it in District 4. But again, it was for some things there were conflicting testimony. So at this point, we did leave it in District 4, but we did note the comments that we received.
There's a question from Commissioner Kenny.
Yes.
Yes, Ty, could you overlay the revised B3 onto this so that we could see, and then maybe one of the co-chairs could walk around the districts, and so we could look at the differences between the revised F and the revised B.
Or maybe show them side by side.
Yeah.
That'd be clearer than the overlay.
Yeah.
Let me just give both options or prepare for both options.
I find the overlay easier to understand, but
Commissioner Obregon had asked in the chat if they could be put side by side. So
Yeah, maybe we can start doing side by side and then maybe an overlay. Commissioner Mendoza.
Thank you. Question about, excuse me, yourself or Commissioner Soto can, if we can go to the northeast end of the San Gabriel Valley, look at that, please.
One moment.
While Ty is doing that, can I just ask a question about whether the working group worked on G1 or just F2?
We originally worked on F and G, because G was sort of a progeny of F. And then as we, so that was the first, we looked at both. But as we started to say, we're looking at, since there were similarities between G and B, we handed off G to the other working group. And we remain focused on map F. Okay.
Okay, so this is a side-by-side. On the left-hand side is the modified B3, and on the right-hand side is modified F2.
My question was, I guess just above Pomona, is entirely in District 1? And what is that, the Jets North, that little spike, I guess, in District 1? What city is that in?
For map F, or modified map F?
Correct.
Okay, for modified map F, this is Pomona. And what was the question, Commissioner Mendoza?
And a lot of the comments was to keep, go ahead. I was gonna say a lot of the comments was to keep Pomona in District 1. Go ahead.
No, I hear you, I couldn't tell what exactly was taking. Okay, because it looks like that, okay, so that, I'll call it that spike, or that's all of Pomona that you capture there in District 1 at the northeast end?
Correct.
Yes.
Everything in the white border.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Williams, if I can, just to sort of close it out, I think on map F.
Okay.
Map F. You know, I think it's important to acknowledge again that there is still that question of District 2 going out all the way to the coast. We know that there is a lot of conversation that we need to have around that because, you know, when we look at a lot of what these communities are made up, we know that there are stark differences, especially in socioeconomics, and that it is something that I hope we can continue to have a conversation around because just I agree as the San Fernando Valley says they have nothing in common with those areas. And we hear from communities in District 2 that they also don't. So I don't want us to overlook it. It is an important, I think, point to continue to discuss.
And we heard a lot of comments about Torrance and the Palos Verdes communities staying connected to that whole coastal area on this end, the ports. So we made sure we maintain that. And of course, we kept Long Beach whole.
Commissioner Kenny?
Could you now superimpose one on the others and then walk us around the districts so we can have a chance to look at how the districts differ from one map to another?
Sure. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. So we're gonna work off of modify option F2 and then superimpose modify option B3.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask Commissioner Morales, did you have any comments you wanted to add to modified F?
Yeah, sorry, folks. Just joining here and trying to catch up. So I don't have any additional comments to add, but yes, this is all very fascinating. Thank you.
Could the co-chairs walk us through the differences between these two maps and the different districts?
This is my first time seeing the modified F. But what pops out is in District 4, the Whittiers and related communities in the B version are in District 4. In the B version, District 4, right?
So in the B version, the
no, I'm sorry.
Are in District 1.
District 1. I'm sorry, District 1, and in the modified F version, they're in District 4, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that is a big shift, and we definitely looked at that and tried to see what would happen and try to make it happen in a sense. We played with it, but we couldn't find the population balancing, just in terms of sheer numbers of folks in each district. We couldn't make it work. So it is something that could, I think, go either way.
Looking at District 2 and the coastal area, it appears that the B version has less of those coastal communities than I don't know what to call it. What is it? The F version?
The F version.
The
yeah.
F version, yeah. We have Hermosa Beach and Redondo Beach.
Right.
Yeah.
And also Manhattan Beach.
And Manhattan Beach.
And in the in the B version, we had, I think is that the Marina Del Rey, that area.
Marina Del Rey, Marina Peninsula, as well as Playa Del Rey.
Playa Del Rey itself, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And we heard a lot about those environmental issues around that area with Marina Del Rey and that area there.
So with the F map, we've heard so many comments about District 2 having nothing in common with the beach area, but the F map has more of the beach area included than the B map. Am I correct? Am I looking at that correctly?
Yeah, and some of it, again, we were trying to manage population, the shifts as we were moving the map. So yeah.
Of course. But also with District 2, with both of the maps, LAX is in District 2.
Right.
All of the community cores, as far as the communities are concerned, historical communities in African-American communities are kept whole.
Correct.
And with map B, we now have Carson included.
Yeah,
correct.
In map B.
And it looks like downtown Los Angeles is included in District 2 in the B version.
Correct. But you can see, if you look at the white lines, District 2, I mean, obviously there's differences, but there's a lot, especially as you go further south, there's a lot that is exactly corresponding, which is interesting, since we were not actually superimposing those maps on each other.
What is that area at the, right up here? Yeah, come down right there. What is that?
So this is
go ahead, Ty.
It's Vernon Central.
Ah, okay.
You know, I'm just wondering, when I was just playing around with the maps a little bit, if there was, I was trying to get Koreatown and Little Bangladesh in the same district in SD1 as the other Asian historic communities. And Ty, could you just show where, it's because it's kind of near really near the border, and then trying to balance it out. I think I can't see now. Anyway, I can't see where it's somewhere south. But it seemed like that could be a possibility, that we could connect just that little bit, you know, and then try to get some, so then all those historic API communities could be together. But
yeah, we looked at that with the B map, and when we tried it, it gave more population to map. You know, there was a ripple effect that took place. So we looked at that and played around with it. Also, before I forget, and I apologize, Commissioner Wong, you can you know, say your thought. But I wanted to, after Commissioner Wong makes her statement, I would also like to look at San Fernando Valley, to look at both of the maps and see how much of the density is captured in either F and B. So I'd like to look at that. I'm sorry, Commissioner Wong.
Oh, no, that's quite all right. Well, I can't, can we look at the southern part? At any rate, I think that I thought I could find some population either a little bit south or east in, you know, to add on to SD2 to make up for losing it. But I guess I'll have to look at it. Maybe we could explore that anyway, you know, in another version. That's all. The other point I was going to make is that I haven't seen like the population, the CBAP numbers for B3, but it just makes it, for some reason, there's a very big difference in the way that the CBAP numbers come out. So I would be interested in seeing that in comparing the B3 to F2, the new modified versions. Because I think this one, for some reason, in District 4 can make up, using the communities of interest, keeping them together, can produce a majority minority district in SD4, but I don't think it does that as well in B3. Maybe because I don't know if it's because it includes Whittier or not. I'm not sure why there's such a difference, but.
So I think the Whittier block is part of it, and then the Beach Cities block is the other moving part there. So, you know, those are some trade-offs there for sure.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Rose. There's definitely that ripple effect. So if you do one to one part of the county, the other part of the county or the other part of that district is going to shift population-wise fundamentally.
So the numbers we're looking at are for the F3 modified, right?
F2 modified.
F2 modified.
F.
Commissioner Franklin, what were you wanting to do with San Gabriel Valley now?
Yes, to look at the percentage of the San Fernando Valley that is kept whole in map F, and maybe Ty can do the calculations later, not now, to bring forth the numbers of how much of the San Fernando Valley is whole percentage-wise in map F as compared to map B percentage-wise, because I know map B has about approximately 73% of the San Fernando Valley is whole. So I just wanted to.
And Commissioner Franklin, I do want to just point out very quickly, the only difference between map B, modified B3 and modified F2 with the San Fernando Valley are these two areas. On the northwest, which is the more rural Lake Manor area, as well as unincorporated West Chatsworth, and then also the part of the Sun Valley. Those are the only two differences between map modified B3 and modified F2 when it comes to the San Fernando Valley. And so I estimate, I can do the calculations later on, but I estimate it would be about a percentage point or two less.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sayre-Soto?
I wanted to add another just sort of thought. I know there's a lot of focus around keeping the San Fernando Valley whole. However, we also heard early on in our process and during the summer from communities in the San Fernando Valley that shared with us that there were communities in the San Fernando Valley that they were not like, right? So I think while we've heard some saying keep the San Fernando Valley whole, there are other communities that haven't felt or experienced equal representation in the San Fernando Valley. So I want to just put that out as another sort of just line for us to think about.
Mr. Holtzman?
And that is true, Commissioner Sayre-Soto. I've referenced the working heart of the valley quite a bit in our meetings. But we did also hear strongly from that area of the valley that What they most don't like is having to be tied in with the west side of Los Angeles and have their political interests subsumed to people from the west side. So given that those interests, I mean, that working heart of the valley would actually have a great chance of electing one of its own supervisor if you make an all valley or a largely valley district. I think that argues in favor of doing that. But I think we're getting a little far afield from clarifying questions. Have Co-Chair Maeda and Co-Chair Williams, have we heard public comments on this item yet? I don't think we have.
We have not, and that's
No.
fair. That's a fair comment. Are there other clarifying questions from the commission before we take public comment? I don't see any, so let's move to public comment. I do want to make sure we have sufficient time as a commission to grapple with these maps. So let's take a half hour of public comment. It looks like we may be able to do that, to get almost all these comments in at that time, but 1 minute each for them, Ty?
Actually, so we don't have to break this by notes. We've been actually going for, looks like an hour and a half now. Maybe we should take our 10-minute break and then just have the public comments as a block. What do you think about that?
That was just what I was going to suggest. We're right at that hour and a half, so we could take a 10-minute break, then come back and do public comments.
That's fine.
Okay.
I have that we have about 1 more minute. I'm ticking it down. So that's the end of the break.
That was an alarm. Okay. We can all come back, please. So it looks like maybe some overlap, but we have almost, we have maybe 24, 28 or so, 25, 28 in the Q&A. Maybe we should just cut it off at the last person, which is John Schmitz.
We also have 6 hands raised.
And then have the 6 hands. So why don't we start with the 6 hands, and then we'll stop with the telephone and then go to the Q&A through John Schmidt. Everybody okay with that? Let's do it that way.
And I do want to note that John Schmidt's a little bit higher up. For some reason, seems to be a Zoom glitch. It shows that he entered in his comment at 3:39 a.m. So he, I believe, is actually after Jose Ruiz.
3:39 a.m. Okay.
And so before I begin, typically we do have the map of just LA County and the CSAs in the background. Do the commissioners prefer a different map in the background?
Should we put up is it too much to put up the side-by-side of the 2 working group proposals?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Side by side would really be helpful, I think.
Right. I can do that.
Great.
Just give me a moment.
And I thought your original plan to take a half an hour of public comment allowed us to know what to anticipate and how much time we would have in reserve. Looks like there are 8 hands plus the 29 requests.
Yeah, I think there are some dupes.
Okay.
There. It's pretty close. I kind of would like to go ahead, since there's only a few that would otherwise be cut off, to go ahead and give them that time.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have first Aaron Robertson and then Stuart Wallman. Aaron, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, I'm a program director at Advancement Project, which is a member and mapping organization for the People's Bloc. Our collective goal, as you heard through countless public statements yesterday, is to protect the ability of communities to elect candidates of choice by keeping priority COIs whole in the East Side, Sella, South LA, West and East San Gabriel Valley, and the LA metro area. I had planned to share about how Map 81 and written comments submitted today by Inner City Struggle provide examples to keep these communities whole, but today's discussion has moved me to highlight the repeated comments from residents of District 2, emphasizing the difference between South LA and the coastal cities that have been ignored in the modified maps. Minutes ago, Commissioner Holtzman shared the very real concern from Valley residents of not wanting to be subsumed by West Los Angeles. I ask you, why is it preferable for this commission to instead let South Los Angeles and the Black community be subsumed by West Los Angeles?
All right. Next, we have Stuart Waldman and then Cruz Casillas. Stuart, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to see these maps and then get to comment on them. Of the two maps, as they're very similar, we prefer the modified B3 and G1 because it does have 10,000 more Valley residents in one of the districts. But the maps are fair. And while we'd like to see a few more Valley residents in one single district, it's something that we could live with. I do want to mention, I know that there were people who talked earlier in the process, communities that said they didn't feel like other communities. That was an organized effort of people that were trying to justify a map that went from the middle of the valley to downtown LA. And obviously you didn't want to look at that map, and I agree with you on that. But thank you. I appreciate the process. I appreciate the working group. Add another 40, 50,000 Valley residents in one of them, and it'd be great.
Thank you. Next we have Cruz Casillas and then Yvette Estrada. Cruz, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Cruz Casillas. I'm a student from UCLA, and I am calling in support of map F2. Before transferring to UCLA, I attended Mount San Antonio College, a community college commonly known as Mount SAC in Walnut, which has been an important resource to students and families. Also in Pomona, which is a working class community. While a student at Mount SAC, I had many opportunities to work with and meet with other students from Cal Poly Pomona, which is literally next door. It is a street down. And currently Walnut and Pomona are both part of District 1, which I believe that they should continue to stay in. On the other hand, Cal Poly Pomona would be moving to District 5 in some of these other ones. This is the main reason I support map F2. And I did also just hear something earlier about La Habra Heights being an API community, which is not something that I was familiar with. Thank you, commissioners. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Yvette Estrada and then Jessica Panduro. Yvette, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. I am calling on behalf of NBC Universal regarding option F2. In this draft, the Universal lot is split into 2 supervisorial districts with most of the property in District 3. If this draft moves forward, or if there's a new map with a similar split, we would like the commission to make this technical change to keep our entire business operations in District 3. This change would not have any impact on population percentages that are allocated to each district. I have submitted written public comment with this request, including a map of the universal lot boundaries. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Panduro and then Chris Rowe. Jessica, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. Jessica Panduro here again. In a 48% Latino majority county, how are we just having some maps with only one Latino majority district? We ask that in a historically Latino district to maintain the Latino CPAC no lower than 53%. And it is possible. We have been providing modifications to the maps and maps that do so. These maps presented today are not a representation of the community input that you have heard meeting after meeting after meeting. You're actively decreasing the voice of Latino in our district, a county that already holds a lot of barriers for true representation. We are a county with majority Latino people who are not able to elect the representation that we need. These impacts resources that people in our community need to survive. I am appalled by the configuration stripping away the voices of the most marginalized that have been fighting for years for the right to exist. Don't pair out South LA with coastal communities. Do better.
Thank you. Next, we have Chris Rowe and then Henry Fung. Chris, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. You have managed to divide the community of West Hills. You reference it on your new map, says Canoga Park. I just sent all of you a map of West Hills with its actual street descriptions. As you know, I sent all of you 2 PowerPoints that I worked well into the night to create to give you very distinct district lines to remove Santa Monica and parts of Beverly Hills out of the San Fernando Valley, so we truly could represent someone that lived in the San Fernando Valley, not somebody that lives in Santa Monica or Beverly Hills to represent us. If you are going to not make the San Fernando Valley whole, the communities that are closer to the freeway, to the 405, to the east side of the San Fernando Valley and closer to Santa Clarita would be better options than where you took from, which is West Hills. You literally took West Hills. Thank you.
Next, we have Henry Fung and then Lee Collar. Henry, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. This is Henry Fung. I just want to quote from Paul Mitchell, as a consultant that does redistricting. He's done hundreds of redistrictings in California. And just to remind the districts, the people on the commission about what the charge is that redistricting should try to cleave away those who already have outsized political power so that those who are historically disenfranchised and getting screwed by their government have districts where they can elect candidates that they want. If that happens to pack white or rich people in a few districts, that's fine. And so in that statement, I think having as less of the coast as possible in District 2 is probably the better solution. I do think there need to be some changes made in the Azusa, swapping Azusa and Covina, Lake Manor. Those are minor changes that can be done, but these maps are not great, but I would select B over F at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lee Collar and then Jose Ruiz, but I believe Jose is no longer logged on. So after Lee Collar, it will be John Schmitz. Lee, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners, and I really appreciate the work you've done the last couple of days. Looking at these maps, they look very similar, and I do have some issues with them, but I think they're minor and sort of fall in line with a lot of the other comments. What both of these maps do is they actually end up splitting the beach cities. In map B, you've got Manhattan Beach in District 2 and Hermosa Beach and Redondo Beach and Torrance, which is actually a beach city as well, in District 4. And in the map F modification, you have the 3 cities with beaches in it, beach in their name in District 2 and then Torrance in District 4. I would like to see you move all the beach cities and perhaps even El Segundo into District 4 and make an adjustment on for District 2, taking from the, I guess I would call it the upper west east side of that little horseshoe there, and somewhere there add something into District 2 to make that adjustment. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate the hard work you guys put in.
Thank you. Next, we have John Schmitz, then Sergio Diaz Luna. John, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners, for all your hard work over the last couple of months. My name is John Schmitz, a 35-year resident of unincorporated Valinda in the San Gabriel Valley. I feel both maps provide a unique viewpoint to the redistricting problem. But from my opinion, map F2 provides the greatest amount of value in addressing issues in the largest number of districts. F2 provides Latinx, Asian Americans, African Americans, and other diverse populations the best option for selecting representation to address their community needs and maintains city and geographic boundaries that hold like values and needs. I like the F2 map, especially because it doesn't provide that wedge between the Covinas and Pomona and provides a more homogeneous district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sergio Diaz Luna and then Pogo Salazar. Sergio, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners, for taking my public comment tonight. I just wanted to make a comment to express my support for map F2 or map F in this case, because I think the community of Pomona should be kept within District 1. Most of my time, at least, spent in LA County has been spending time in West Covina, El Monte. I'm a resident of Pomona and have really just spent most time in that district and feel like it is part of home. Additionally, I think earlier heard a comment around keeping Mount San Antonio College and Cal Poly Pomona within District 1 as well. I agree with that. I've taken classes at Mount Sac, and having a community college accessible to the city of Pomona and within the district just makes sense. And I hope it helps a little bit. I know you all have a big job, and I wish you the best. And thank you for taking my comment tonight.
Thank you. Next, we have Pogo Salazar and then Jackie Contreras. Pogos, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, Commissioners. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Commissioners. I'd like to, first of all, thank you for all the great work that you're doing. I'd like to suggest that if you moved Eagle Rock, LaSalle Park, or Griffith Park, and the West Side communities to Santa Monica into SD5, you can make the San Fernando Valley whole in SD3. I also would like to say that I just created a map that does this and puts K-Town into SD1. It's called K-Town and SD1. It's in the map portal already. Please look at that. All it did is move the west side into SD5, put K-Town into SD1, no other changes in SD2, and no changes in SD4. It did what Commissioner Wong was asking for. It united more Asian communities with K-Town into one district, and it also put the valley into SD3 as a whole by taking the west side and putting it into SD5. Please take a moment and look at that.
Just a question, do you know what map number that is?
I don't think it has a map number, just because I was listening to Commissioner Wong's comments and I just created it and saved it. I believe Ty will be able to pull it up from the portal. I named it something, it was K-Town and SD1, Valley Hole and SD3, I believe, as the name of it. So please take a moment to look at that.
Thank you.
Yes, so if it's just been submitted, I haven't had the time to process and upload. Next, we have Jackie Contreras and then Henry Perez. Jackie, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. This new Map B option does not create two Latinx districts, which is something that we do not support and is straying even further from the direction that you're heading. We would not support modified F because of how low the Latinx CVAP drops for both District 1 and 4, and how District 2 still contains coastal communities. These options continue to prioritize other communities of the Valley and the coast over our Black, Brown, and API communities that have been historically oppressed and ignored. I want to highlight yesterday's public hearing and the amount of voices you all heard and continue to uplift Map 81 as a guide for all of you on how to best protect our communities. Please trust our community-based organizations who work directly with community residents and that are telling you how harmful these map options are. Trust the decades of organizing that we have built with our communities, but most importantly, trust the voices and the lived experiences of community residents who have spoken up. Please do not ignore their voices. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Henry Perez and then Maria Brenes. Henry, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Henry Perez, and I just want to express concern with both maps that have been presented tonight. They do not take into account the many voices that have provided public comment over the public hearings of this process. In particular, combining the South LA communities with the coastal communities, which disenfranchises the historical Black communities in District 2. Secondly, you are erasing a historical Latinx seat in SD1. SD1 currently has a Latinx CVAP of 56, 57%, and you are bringing that down to just above 50%. This is not acceptable given the large Latinx population in LA County. I urge you to look at the revisions submitted by Inner City Struggle and the People's Bloc in Map 81. We are in a majority people of color county, and that must be reflected in the maps that you configure. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Maria Brenes and then Tim Sandoval. Maria, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. I recognize the work that's been completed over the last few days. At the same time, this is a significant amount of information for the public to analyze and process in such a short period of time. I urge the commission not to make any final decisions tonight. As the public, we need adequate time to respond. Echoing similar concerns to others, it is very concerning to see that these revised options significantly lower Latinx CVAP, particularly in SD1, which has been a historic Latinx district. And what is being presented would create significant barriers to electing a candidate of choice. Please reference map 81 for VRA protections and unification of historic communities of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Tim Sandoval and then John Smather. Mayor Tim Sandoval, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioner. Tim Sandoval, City of Pomona. I want to thank months and countless hours you have spent listening us, the public. I want to zero in on Cal Poly Pomona, which is a key asset to Pomona and the working class immigrant communities of the San Gabriel Valley. I can't tell from the maps if the university is in SD1 or SD5. I ask that you keep us whole and include Cal Poly Pomona in SD1. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have John Smathers and then Raymond Jackson. John, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. I appreciate all your work on this evening and every other night. I've been tuning in and literally no one has said that they want La Habra Heights to be in SD1. And every public comment has said they want Pico Rivera in SD1. Based on this, you need to schedule another public meeting. These changes are significant. These maps also barely, if at all, comply with the VRA. Also, Ty, I want to commend you because you are a superstar. Thank you, everybody. Good evening.
Thank you. Next, we have Raymond Jackson and then Faraz Akil. Raymond, you will have 1 minute. Okay, so Raymond is going to be promoted to panelist. Okay, you are currently muted.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm sitting at soccer practice with my kids, but I appreciate all your efforts this evening. I'm representing the city of Hermosa Beach and in support of Supervisor Hahn and MAP B3. So thank you for all of your efforts. As you know, the beach city issues are unique, and to the extent we can keep the beach cities together, we need to do that. So thank you again, Commissioner Franklin. Thank you for your astute observation. Your comment was spot on. So thank you all very much and appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you. So next we're gonna go ahead and move to Faraz Akil and then Rosa Soto. Faraz, you will have 1 minute.
Yes, good evening, commissioners. My name is Faraz Akil, and I'm a resident of the city of Downey. After listening to both maps, I believe that the FG map is the best combined map. It keeps the Sila Gateway Cities region whole, which does include the cities of Norwalk and Whittier. Also, it doesn't cause as big of a U shape underneath the District 2 as does the B map. But I do recommend that you give the city of Torrance to District 2 in order for Torrance to stay within the South Bay region. Lastly, this map does split the West Hills neighborhood between District 3 and District 5. So please reunite West Hills with District 3 and the majority of the San Fernando Valley. Also, I do agree that the city of Walnut, which has Mount San Antonio College, should be included with Pomona and Cal Poly Pomona. Thank you all so much for your hard work, and I'll see you all at the finish line.
Thank you. Next, we have Rosa Soto and then Tony Lewis. Rosa, you will have 1 minute. Rosa, whenever you're ready, please unmute.
Good evening, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Rosa Soto, and I'm calling about these last two maps that have been discussed today. I'm calling because they have not been vetted by the community. I think it is important that a public hearing be, be offered in order to receive input. I also see that La Habra has been added to District 1. La Habra, as we have shared in many of the public comments, is not the same as Roland Heights and Hacienda Heights. Please consider moving La Habra back to District 4. And it's also important that we have adequate participation from the community. In my comments yesterday, I shared that it is not, we didn't have adequate comments for the previous maps, let alone these two maps. So please consider more time for the public. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Tony Lewis and then John Mendoza. Tony, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, Council, Commissioners. My name is Tony Lewis. I'm the City Councilman for Duarte, District 7. Thank you for keeping Duarte whole in all of your map options. I know you have a difficult task, and at the end of the process, no one's going to be happy. So, but on the behalf of the City of Duarte, we'd like to thank you for keeping us whole, and good night.
Right. Thank you. Next, we have John Mendoza and then Deborah Mendez. John, you will have 1 minute.
John Mendoza, North Pomona. I was going to say that that little spike that the gentleman was talking about earlier up there is North Pomona. That's right above the 10 freeway. That's where Mountain Meadows is. It's a upper class neighborhood, which is directly across the street from Bundy Stone Park, which is on the west side, which that little cut that goes in there, and around the other side is Laverne and Claremont, which are all impacted by the Pomona Fairplex. All three cities would benefit if they are included in the same supervisory district 5. It's an economic engine of the region, and it needs the inclusiveness of all 4 cities. That's why I would like to see that carved into Supervisor 5. It's becoming a power politics between the mayor, Supervisor Solis, and the congresswoman that lives right there above the 10 freeway in opposition against each other because of the Fairplex. So we need to get rid of that.
Thank you. Next, we have Deborah Mendez and then Jose Cornejo. Deborah, you have 1 minute. Deborah, whenever you're ready, please unmute.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Deborah Mendez, currently coordinating efforts to inform the San Gabriel Valley and Pomona residents on the Stay Housed LA program. First, I want to thank you each for your hard work on carrying us through the final stretch of this process. And thank you for developing maps that keep Pomona in District 1, together with other similar working class San Gabriel Valley cities along the 10 freeway. Please keep Pomona with our communities of interest and do not make modifications at our expense as versions such as map 78 does. The families that we serve here in Pomona have different needs in the northern San Gabriel Valley foothill cities. Lastly, I'm concerned that these maps weren't posted sooner. This does not feel transparent. Please do not consider the last maps from tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we have Jose Cornejo and then Judy St. John. Jose, you have one minute.
Thank you, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the work you've done. While this is a better map for the San Fernando Valley, both of them are still short of including the entire San Fernando Valley. And I think you've undone some of the good work you did in CD4, in Supervisor District 4, where you upped the Latino population numbers. I think that one of the big challenges you were given as a newly formed commission was to be bold and make big changes. And I think that that's what I'm hoping you will do, and make bigger and bolder changes in these districts and really bring the communities that have not had, like the gateway cities, like the San Fernando Valley, a little bit bigger voice and of getting some representation on the Board of Supervisors, which they've not had for a long, long time. Thank you again for all your work, and thank you for your continuing efforts.
Thank you. Next, we have Judy St. John and then Gabo Lizardo. Judy, you will have 1 minute. So Judy, whenever you're ready. Okay, Judy, I see you unmuting and muting yourself. Please unmute. Okay, Judy, you are now unmuted. Please, once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute. Judy, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, what I liked about map B2 is that it kept neighboring communities of interest together, even though they're in different cities. It's the part around Fairplex, in Pomona, and in Laverne. We have an interest in what happens at that almost 500-acre site, and yet we have two different supervisors. We really need the same supervisor, whether it's District 5 or District 1. We need to have the communities around Fairplex under the same supervisor. I think that's the communities of interest are more important than keeping the boundaries of a city together in this case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Ty, before you call the next one, here's a simple request. If you could move the data at the bottom to show the CVAP, not just the total population on both of the maps.
Okay. One moment. Okay. So hopefully that is helpful. Okay, so next we have Gabo Lizardo and then Jack Chang. Gabo, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, Ty. Thank you, Gayla. My name is Gabo Lizardo. My request was to see the CVAP numbers. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you. Next we have Jack Chang and then Cheryl DiMucci. Jack, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Jack Chang. I'm calling from Chinatown. I just wanted to say very quickly, thank you for the commissioner's work. I know it's been so hard and we're down the stretch, but I just wanted to say that these maps still were revealed a little bit with no notice. And I just feel like it, just we don't have enough time to digest it enough. And I just don't feel like this is something that we can still move forward, but I still would like to suggest on map option F. I really don't see why Chinatown and or Filipino Town and some of these other districts are moved out of District 1. So we'd like to promote on option F. So thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you. Next we have Cheryl DiMucci and then Gay Yuan. Cheryl, you have 1 minute.
Hi, I wanted to thank every commissioner for your hard work in the last several months. This has been very difficult. And I want to thank you, Ty, also for being a rock star as well. I'm calling to promote map B3, which keeps the South Bay community together. Sorry, I'm a resident of Redondo Beach. Everything from El Segundo Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, Torrance, and the Palos Verdes Peninsula work together as a community in whole, and I think it should be kept together. So good luck. Thank you so much. Appreciate your help.
Thank you. And I believe our last caller is Gay Yuen. And then co-chairs, would you like to close public comment after that?
Yes.
Gay, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm calling to ask that you not make a decision on these maps because there has not been enough input from the public, and also it's still not very clear to those of us who are vested, especially the people in Chinatown and the San Gabriel Valley. We don't want to move, we want to stay where we are, but then on top of all this, it's very not clear right now as to how these maps will affect us and other areas and other ethnic communities. So although on one hand we support map F2 as it is, we still would like to have more time to get these lines vetted and more input from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I know co-chairs, I did see right when it was about to close, a hand was raised.
If this one hand, let's go ahead and take it.
Okay, so next is Julie Rico. Julie, you have 1 minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I oppose map B and G. I agree with Gay Yoon. We need more time to study these maps, and we support map F2. So please don't make a negative impact decision today regarding Chinatown, especially where we have a good group of people working here together. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, public comment is closed for 6A.
Okay. So we should probably go round robin. Before we do that, though, last meeting, a couple of you requested that we look at map 81. We heard more about map 81 today as well. How do people feel about just looking at that map together? Then we can go through public comment. In fact, I don't know whether people feel like we should look at 81 superimposed on the new F version of the working group, whether that's something people want to do.
Maybe we'll look at them side by side.
Okay.
So map 81 with modified F2 side by side?
Correct.
Okay, so just give me a moment.
Sure.
I show map 81 in the software as having been modified today, this afternoon. Is that what we expect to see?
I just fixed one of the layers.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay, and just a point to make with map 81, which was submitted by the People's Bloc, similar issue that we had before regarding the different atomic unit. And so what we're seeing through the redistricting software isn't exactly 100% aligned with what they submitted, just because they did split some RDUs to make some connections.
And most importantly, with District 2, I assume that even the revised or 81 goes to LAX, and the connection between the Valley, San Fernando Valley, and the coastal communities is Dockweiler Beach.
I believe so. And I've sent the file to Preeti. So if the commissioners would like, and if Preeti is here, perhaps loading it into that software if wanting to see a more accurate picture of OP081.
Preeti, could you prepare that?
Ty, could you scroll to the right so we can see the CVAP numbers?
Of course.
So Prisca, I made you a co-host. So when you have that ready, let us know and we can get an enlarged version of it.
Can you pull it up a little bit? I don't know if it's just my computer. I can't see District 5.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. I was,
Yeah, there seems to, hold on, let me just refresh this.
you just have to go down. Well,
Yeah, no, there for some reason it's not pulling up on my screen. Might be because I have too many screens open, but just give me a moment. Okay.
There we go.
Change.
Okay. Shall we go round robin for folks' views? I don't know whether we should have instructions, more instruction on than that. I'm sorry.
Co-Chair Maeda,
Yes.
can you read some of the descriptions from the map maker on what he or she did?
For 81?
Yes.
Ty, do you have that?
I can pull it up as well.
the other reference we can use are the comments that Gayla just circulated earlier about the changes. I think the person from Inner City wrote it out.
And so these are the comments that were submitted by the map makers, the People's Blog. The document that is currently available on the website also from Inner City Struggle are additional modifications to be made to map F.
On number 4, is that move Romano? Or
Ramona from SD5
Ramona?
to SD1.
Okay.
And let me go ahead and enlarge this side for y'all. Okay, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Ty, did you say these have been done or they're proposing these?
So these were the changes that the People's Bloc have made and requested that these notes be accompanied with the submission.
Thank you.
Ty, just to confirm on that comment on 4, move Ramona, did they mean Pomona?
That could be it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out where the heck, I know it's a street. It's a street.
Right. It says Pomona. It says Pomona later. I think they misspelled it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the only Ramona I know is in San Diego County, I believe.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yes, you're right. It's Pomona.
Okay.
Pretty, let us know when you have it ready so they can look at it in more detail. Pretty, are you there? So maybe Ty, you need to take down the text and have them look at some of the specifics.
Okay.
Because the Pomona, I think, was one of the differences between the two maps.
So let's go ahead and move back to modify F2.
So Pretty, I see you unmuted. Are you about ready?
I am not yet ready. I'm looking to download the 081 file and pull it in my system.
Okay.
And do you see a comment from one of the members of the People's Bloc? Ramona is referring to Ramona Gardens.
But if you look at the
I see.
the Pomona is handled differently in the two maps. If you look at the northern border of the San Fernando Valley, there are differences. And then obviously where it comes down the coast.
District 4 is pretty different.
Yes.
Among other things, it found a way to reach Walnut, which previously was between District 5 and District 1. This 81 map actually puts it in 4, which is, I didn't know that was possible, but you can see that it's still connecting Pomona, but by a thin thread there.
Mhm. Yeah, and that was the question I had around the connector. It's a very, very slim connector.
Yeah.
And we'd have to rationalize that tiny strip connecting the District 1 and with Pomona and the West Covina area.
Where's Ramona? Is it Ramona Gardens?
Yeah, that's part of Boyle Heights.
Yeah, it's Boyle Heights and it's above the 10 freeway near the going towards Calcutta.
What it's worth, I measured that strip as being less than 600 feet wide.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's small. It's an important part of the community as it's a housing. It's home to a lot of families that are part of the Ramona Gardens housing
I think
complex.
that Commissioner Holtzman was talking about the connection between Pomona and.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sorry. Yes, you're right. And above that is Walnut, is that right?
Below it is
I think
Walnut.
below it is
Below it is
Walnut.
Walnut.
Can we see what's just above it to see if it could be put into to make the connection a little wider?
So above it is San Dimas, below it is Walnut.
Okay, San
And I do
Dimas.
want to note there is a comment in the Q&A noting that Ramona is adjacent to Walnut.
Oh.
Where?
Right.
Okay.
So so Ramona is in unincorporated Covina.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
I see. So it would probably widen that little strip.
So one more time, just to read the comments, right? So move Ramona from SD5 to SD1 with Walnut moving to SD4. Ramona was brought into SD1 to balance population and connect Pomona to the rest of SD1. This maintains a contiguous district and unites Pomona with neighboring Coys in SD1.
Can you zoom in on Ramona?
So let me see.
So Ramona is the connector.
So we have Cal Poly Pomona.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask. So Cal Poly Pomona is there connected with Pomona, right?
Right.
Yes, in District 1. And where's the Fairplex? Isn't it in the city of Pomona?
The Fairplex should be right here.
You're right.
It's both in the city of Pomona and the city of.
Right, so the Fairplex is right here on the edge, on the border of 5 and 1.
So this is one instance in which at least some testimony has been to go ahead and split Pomona, right? Put this part of the same district as Laverne. Now, I'm not saying we should do it. I'm saying that this is the rare example where folks wanted to be split from the rest of the city.
Well, I thought what they were, the other way is to bring more things into District 1, the other side of the Fairplex.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, that's one way to do it.
Early on, I recall a lot of testimony saying we should split North and South Pomona somehow because of economic class differences, et cetera.
You know, there definitely was that testimony.
As well as testimony to keep it together.
As well as to keep it together.
Right.
Absolutely.
Today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's an economic engine for D5, District 5.
Before I forget, what about Universal Studio? The testimony about that property, the territory was split, Universal Studio. So we don't want to do that, of course.
Right, that was in
Yeah, that's in 3, I think.
3 or
yeah, that should be 3.
So is it split?
That's my neighborhood.
Is it split, Commissioner Wong? Can you see on 81?
I can't tell. It's not small enough to tell.
so we I guess
There-
have written comment specifying the borders. So we should definitely look at that and make sure it's not split.
Right.
Okay.
We don't want to have them in two, because the testimony stated that their property is located in 2 districts.
Right.
I see Universal City on here.
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest that we don't spend any more time doing these little micro edits.
I agree.
That we back out and try to get a sense of the commission, where people stand maybe on favorite approaches or favorite map of the ones we've seen. So we can really focus our time on the.
Okay. I thought it was useful to look at 81, but we've looked at it. Is there anything else we need to do with 81 at this point before we go to the commission, just doing a round robin?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Can I just ask a point of clarification before we go to the round robin? Since we've heard so many comments that the public, hasn't, rightfully so, they haven't had a chance to see, to see this map before tonight. So I think it's fine to go round robin to see what we think, but I'm hoping that we won't necessarily. I would have wanted to make a decision, but I don't know if I feel comfortable making a decision because the public hasn't had a chance to absorb this, and actually neither have we very much. But
okay.
I want to say at least for the option F ad hoc working group, we did take a lot of the public comments into consideration and making those changes.
Yeah, clearly the working groups were trying to do that for sure. But the point is that both the commission and the public are seeing these particular versions for the first time, not 81, but the B version. So Ty, can you put back up the side by side of the B on the left and the F on the right?
So on the left-hand side is modify B3, and on the right-hand side is modify F2.
Terrific. Okay, let's go ahead and do the round robin then.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Commissioner Kim.
All right, I'm not really that thrilled to go first here, but I kudos to the working groups, because I think it's obvious that a great deal of attention was paid to the comments, and I think personally, I think either map would work. I am slightly in favor of the B version because it has fewer coastal communities in District 2, and also District 2 in the B map includes downtown Los Angeles, which I think continues a tradition that has been the case for in prior versions of District 2. So and I also think that the B map incorporates a little bit more of the San Fernando Valley, and so I favor it for that reason.
Co-Chair Maeda?
I agree in terms of the hard work that the working groups did. I think it does show that there is a lot of, certainly there is conflicting testimony in certain areas, and there's no doubt there's concerns people have about change. But I am, for one, glad to see a San Fernando Valley district that does not somehow snake down to Palos Verdes or even, much into the coast region down to the beach cities and Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, etc. I hear the concerns that people have about District 2 and having other people other than those in the center and the south of the city. But the fact of the matter is that is not 2 million people. So you need to find 2 million people somehow. And I think both maps look workable to me. I have a preference for the F map, but the B map could still work. I still am curious whether there is a way to get the Whittiers into District 4. I think that would be beneficial, but the F map, I think, does a pretty good job of that. I like some of the tinkering around the edges of the San Fernando Valley that are being considered with the equestrian areas going to District 5. Although I understand West Hills is an issue, so maybe we can figure out a way to split that RDU so that we can keep West Hills as part of the San Fernando Valley. And the edges of where District 1 and District 5 meet in San Gabriel Valley still, to me, is a work in progress. We do need to take care of issues such as Cal Poly Pomona. We should resolve, or we should at least consider and make a decision about the Fairplex type issue. And for me, I like the idea, if it's possible, and it doesn't do too much violence to the configuration of the maps, to put Little Tokyo, Chinatown, ideally historic Filipino town. I'm not sure if it can actually reach Koreatown, but in the same district with the other historic Asian American communities in the San Gabriel Valley, if that's possible to do. So, I'm leaning towards the F version of the map at this point.
Commissioner Mendoza?
Thank you. With regard to the public hearings that we're having, my understanding is that we were required by law to have 2, and we've had twice the number, or 100% more than we're required. I'm not saying that's too much or enough, but we're doing what we can, I think, to allow the public to comment. And there's been hundreds and hundreds of comments made, and we're doing the best that we can to process, synthesize what it is that we're hearing. And I think it would be very unrealistic to think we can satisfy everyone and have all the comments reflected in these maps in the way that they've been asked for and requested and supported in most cases. It's just impossible. The legislature did not grant us additional time to complete our process. That's what, that's the deck of cards that we were, given. So, we're doing what we can do. And it was talked about a little bit yesterday. We need to maybe work harder or work more. There's a lot of us that are working very hard, and I think everybody for that. We're doing what we can do as far as I'm concerned. We heard tonight as an example, repeating, I think some of what was said, but Pomona, we had different people talking about different things and wanting different actions to be taken and making compelling, reasons and arguments for that happening. So it makes it very difficult. We have to, figure it out, and it's not easy. I think I'm looking at both maps. I was originally not warming up to map F1. I think the working group has done a fabulous job in making modifications that make it, in my mind, more palatable and what it should be in terms of the different indicators that we're supposed to be considering, and excuse me, in following, the Federal Voting Rights Act, and with the exception of basically pushing District 2 to the Pacific Ocean. That's happened a couple of times now, and I'm still troubled by this notion that maybe this moving of District 2 to the coast is something that should have happened a long time ago, but couldn't for reasons that we talked about that were illegal, or also I'm troubled by this economic interest, this notion that assets should be pulled into certain districts. I haven't heard, or to my knowledge, that's not part of the what we're supposed to be looking at. I'm not saying it can't be something we can think about, but in District 2, I mentioned this in the working group that, and I'll finish my comment quickly, that you look at District 2 and maybe historically that has not been as prosperous as other districts, but right now there's SoFi Stadium, the Forum, the Coliseum, LA Live, the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, the Civic Center, downtown LA World Airport. We pulled that in, if you want to call it, you want to state it in that fashion. So I think we're giving a lot of consideration to a lot of things, to a lot of people. And right now, I could wrap my head around selecting either map. I'm leaning toward a little bit more towards the B series, but not by much. Thank you.
Commissioner Morales.
Yeah, so I appreciate the ad hoc working group that worked on B. And I think, just looking at the way that I'm kind of looking at the map right now, and mind you, I did join a little late, and I apologize for my late, but so looking at it now, I did not realize that the Whittier area was going to be kind of cut out. The gateway cities are not kept together in that regard, in that particular map. The other is I do have a preference in terms of what, map F2, or is it modified option F here, what it's done in terms of the San Gabriel Valley. And then also relating, some of the public comment and some of the ideas around the foothill areas. I think that's well covered there. I think it's either you swing it one way or the other, right? So it's either District 3 goes into the coast or District 4 goes into the coast. And I think these maps are leaning towards let's find some kind of a middle ground to be able to address this in a way that sort of makes sense. Because the same arguments for the San Fernando Valley can be made for folks living where I live over here in District 4. And so why does it wrap around? Why does it go all the way to the coast? Those kinds of things. So I think the way it stands, I think we've done as much in terms of taking the public input, adjusting it within that ad hoc working group, and making sure that we're making this as a fair process as possible. And I think we just have to bear in mind, I do recognize our limited time and being able to put some of these pieces together in a way that makes sense. And I would say, yeah, if I'm looking at map 81 and in terms of what the People's Bloc is trying to do, I understand it, I get it. But there's some, the little tiny strip that connects Pomona to the, Covina it's hard for us to be able to justify that. And we'd be hard pressed to try to do that. So, and if we can't do that, then we have to look at other ways, and which is why we have the map configurations that we have before us. So I just want to highlight that idea there. But all in all, I am leaning towards the F series more than the B at this moment in time.
Commissioner Obregon?
Yeah, the maps, there's looking much more concise. I think if I were to lean one way or the other, the B on the left, my only apprehension or, areas that I would tweak, District 3, that little part that sticks out over Burbank, Glendale, probably Sun Valley. I would like that to be eliminated, and maybe we could add the West Hill section to compensate. And then in District 1, that walnut nut, but that walnut, the way it sticks out down there, if we could maybe that the walnut part go to District 1 and then compensate a little bit for District 5, on the north, that north section, maybe above the 60 freeway or the 10 freeway, to compensate. It would really make this map much more compact. I think District 2 is handled better, and it's pushed to the coast on this map also. So I'm leaning on the map B. Those two little tweaks, the walnut, and I think Sun Valley should be fixed, and that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Hyla Soto?
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to see that the maps are not dramatically different. I think two distinct working groups were able to review all the public testimony, both the oral and the written, and some of the areas will look very similar. And I think that's probably because we started off with different maps, but we're able to synthesize, review the data, public comments, and make adjustments as necessary. It looks like based on the options presented, I like what the working group with the option F did, specifically regarding the gateway cities or gateway area, kind of District 4. Probably it's one of the larger COG areas, like too many people in the gateway cities. Not too much conflicting testimony there. And I like how it just kept from Whittier, La Mirada, Santa Fe Springs, all the way down to Long Beach, and a little bit wrapping around the peninsula, Palos Verdes. So at least the districts all look fairly compact as well. And I think more or less, I think that some of these boundaries, by looking at them, they're following, at least in some areas, not geographic borders as well. I know in the southern part of the county, the basin area is just flat. So there's you do need to divide in. But I think the difference between some of the like the People's Block, where the coast is being snakes all the way down from central San Fernando Valley all the way down to the peninsulas, Palos Verdes Peninsula, you're going over a large mountain range. But at least here it seems like we're more or less following some geographic reasons. The districts are kind of following it to contain those districts. So I think it helps. And I know there's conflicts between South Central LA. I was born and raised in South Central LA. I live in Southeast LA. I'm familiar with and understand the struggles, but I think maybe we need to take a step back and realize that all of these communities are smaller, these communities of interest. None of these communities of interest are over 2 million or around 2 million. So we need to group communities of interest. And of course, every community of interest has different ethnic, but maybe some ethnic differences, socioeconomic differences. But I think those differences should be used to unite and strengthen some of the districts. I think there's great potential, and so yeah, I think it's I'm liking what the working group did with option F. Thank you.
Commissioner Cyrus Soto?
I'm gonna ask that we consider, I think, taking a deeper look at map 81 with the notes that accompanied it from Intercity Struggle today. So I'm certainly not ready to lean my support for either of the maps that we have before us today, because I think I absolutely feel deeply a lot of what has come through from the communities in District 2, as well as, of course, District 1, in terms of how difficult it is when you are a person of color living in a low-income community that shares representation with wealthier or more affluent communities. I know I have lived through it for decades, just how hard it is to be heard, and the kind of work that goes into organizing to bring about positive changes. So I think given that, again, I'm not ready to lend my support to either of these maps, but I would ask that we go back and take a deeper look at what are aspects of the People's Block or Map 81 that can make either of these maps stronger.
Commissioner Stetcher?
Thank you. I hope that one thing we accomplish soon is to make both of these maps available to the public so that in the next day or two we can get comment. And if we have whatever we have to do to elevate them to recognize status and put them up on the web. And I want to say to the public, I know there are a number of people who are frustrated that we have not adopted Map 81, and that they keep coming to us and saying it's the best choice or its predecessors were the best choice, and we don't necessarily reflect that in our conversations. And I think part of the problem is that a number of people are applying numeric thresholds to things and saying to us that it has to be 53% Latino CVAP, or it has to be 30% African-American CVAP. And we are not applying strict numeric thresholds. In fact, we can't, by law, do that. And so if a number changes by a percentage point or two, that's not really something that we're attending to. We're trying to reflect, and I think we are reflecting the feedback that we're getting from the public and all of the feedback we've gotten in our conversations about communities of interests. These districts in both of these pictures really reflect historical precedent, cultural similarity, geographic contiguity, and I think they do a pretty good job. Map 81 was outstanding in the areas where it had the most focus, but it was deficient in my mind in the areas where they had least input, on the west side and in the valley. So we're trying to balance competing interests here. And of these two, I have to admit, I like District 4 in the F series because I think it does a better job of connecting the gateway cities. I like District 2 a little better on the B series, so I don't know which is my favorite, but I think we are making progress. And I would like to see us narrow our focus, if we can, by the end of the evening to two or three maps, and give the public another opportunity to help us fine tune them and stop making mistakes related to the placement of Thai-town or not getting the communities around the Fairplex all connected in one district that are affected strikingly by the Fairplex. Those little pieces are things where we still have work to do. Thank you.
Commissioner Vento?
Okay, thank you. So I really do appreciate all the work that the working groups have done, and I will make my comments brief. I am concerned about District 2 in just the way it goes all the way to the beach, specifically in map F. I do like the way District 4 is in I prefer District 2 in map B, but I do like the way District 4 is in map F. So I know that a lot of people have said some things, and I just know, and I would like to see if we can at least get us down to narrow it and get this down to 2 or 3 final maps tonight, maybe, and we can kind of go from there. So thank you.
Co-Chair Williams? Oh, Co-Chair Williams, you're muted. You unmuted and muted.
Okay, all right. Now am I muted?
No, you're good.
Okay. As I listen to the feedback and I have participated in the drawing of this map, I think we are interpreting what we're hearing from the public. And it's probably the biggest issue has to do with District 2. And we have reasons for drawing District 2 out to the Pacific, to the ocean. And it's like, we understand why we did it, but the public does not like it. We're getting, and there are some, I should say, some of the public does not like it. The intent was not to disenfranchise communities. The intent was to be supportive of adding LAX to District 2 for a number of reasons. But if you're adding LAX to District 2, you got to look at, you can't draw just a line and grab LAX. You got to look at, what are the issues around drawing a map and doing redistricting. So there are reasons why that was done. And some of the things, they're conflicting concerns. And we know we can't please everybody. Somebody's going to be upset. But it's amazing that the two different groups come up with maps that are so similar. Again, in response to what we've heard from the public, I really like District 2 in map B, but I lean toward map F. I really would like to see us do a number of things, but I think the public does need to be able to look at these maps and put some additional feedback on it. And I would love to see us choose one of these, or if we're going to tweak it a little bit more to be able to do that. I looked at map 81. And we still have major issues between that, because if we look at map 81 and we were to say, what can we do? We'd probably end up having it look similar to what we've already done. So there's a question of, if we look at that, are we going to really consider it? Are we going to try to tweak it, or where do we go with that? But I think we should understand the changes were made. I would like to see us go in a direction here, which we already seem to be going, and maybe continue to see if there are additional tweaks that we need to make. Choose one. I do lean toward F. I do like District 2, but I guess it's this whole thing of we're hearing what you say. We are working hard to be responsive. We're putting in a lot of time. And it's not just, this is what we think is best for you. This is what we have heard you say. And these are the maps that we've drawn in response. And I think I want to commend the commissioners for all the work that they've done. I agree with that. But I just think we do need to give the public an opportunity to digest these maps a little bit. I know we need to move toward one, but I don't know how to consider map 81 and keep us moving. I think we do need to look at it a little bit more, but I really think if we get to work it, it's going to look like one of these two. So again, I'm leaning more toward F.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes, this is all, all of this discussion and, all of the work. I really also applaud the work groups for all of the work that, that they've done. I was just playing around with map 81 today, trying to move things around. And I actually think that, there's a good possibility that if we try to modify F1 or F2 to try to incorporate some of the things that in 81 or did some compromise of the two, we would be able to come up with, I think, a really kind of a good map, a good compromise. I think that I was also, pleasantly surprised that when looking at even the modified B3 and modified F2, that they recognize very similar communities of interest and the boundaries are very similar. And so when I then look at, so they obviously recognize the placement in the communities of interest. So then when I look at just trying to consider additional factors that we can consider, because, when I look at maybe some of the CVAP numbers, just as a kind of an additional factor, I noticed that if you take that into consideration, I think I noted this before, I'm not exactly sure why there's such a difference when the maps look so closely aligned in terms of recognizing the communities of interest. But definitely there is the ability to create a Latino minority district in SD4 that I think, given that it better reflects maybe even the changing demographics of LA, I really lean much more towards the F2 map than the B3 map. And I would support trying to move forward with the F2 map and seeing if we can maybe make the connection, the coastal city, make F2 a little closer to map 81 and try to make reduce some of the coastal cities. I was trying to do that in map 81. But anyway, I think that those would be, using F2 as a base would be the best way to go, and I would support that.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes, thank you. We are representing 10 million people. I know for myself and also Co-Chair Williams and others, we've been targeting District 2, and rightfully so. But we have other districts as well that have same interests, different interests, needs, and resources for their community. And I'm looking at the whole ball of wax. We've kept all the COIs together. We've done that. And hearing the voices of the community, that community coalition, and the People's Bloc, and Inner City Struggle, and Charla has brought out. But we've heard from the community in District 2 and District 1 and some 3. I want to say this, the bottom line, I'm leaning towards B1. But I want to make this final statement. Hearing the community say, don't dilute, the disenfranchised voices. We have to think about the poor and disenfranchised community. Again, I must state this one more time that I did a couple of weeks ago. I lived through segregation. I lived and experienced drinking out of colored water fountains. I rode on the back seat of the bus. When my family moved from the South, started doing community activities and community organizing. That's my heart. So when someone thinks that serving on this commission, you don't know the people, all of the 14 commissioners that's on this commission were picked by lottery and whatever for a reason, and we represent the whole LA County, not just one segment of LA County. So I just want to keep that in mind. So when, as the dust settles, I don't want to hear, and people can go back and listen to this tape, they don't understand our community, or they disregarded our voices. They don't know about the poverty and the situation we go. Yes, I do. And a number of the commissioners do as well. And the bottom line is what I've been hearing, it reminds me of segregation. Communities saying we don't want to be with this community because they're upper class and we're poor. That reminds me of segregation. We have to get out of this frame of mind and these talking points and these political organizing themes that will keep the communities not growing. Things are changing, okay? So I, again, just want, we as commissioners keep that in mind. We know this, but I want the public to know. It sounds like segregation. You don't want to be with this community because they not like us or whatever. I lived through segregation. And I hope today, and I'm hoping that this commission will make an equitable map that's with the whole community, whole of LA County, not just one segment. So I'm leaning towards map B. Thank you.
Commissioner Holtzman.
Oh, wow. Powerful words there, Commissioner Franklin. I'm digesting them there. I know I've made some similar remarks, but not in anywhere near as powerful a way as you just did. I do agree that the public commenters, a lot of them seem to not give us credit for understanding the problems of the community as well as we do. So listen, co-chairs, I noticed that we've gone another hour and a half. I have notes and a script to read, and I'll need to share my screen. So I could go for 15 minutes easily, quite some time. I would recommend and even request that we take our next 10-minute break now so that I could have fresh ears to hear what I have to say and see and fresh eyes to see what I have to show. Co-chairs, what do you think about that? Or should I just launch into it all?
I'm a bit torn. I think it doesn't sound like there's an appetite to pick a map. I was hoping maybe at least we can elevate these two working group options to new letters and have those published and have folks, have a chance to digest them, and then possibly get together again on, it looks like maybe Friday afternoon, we can get a quorum of folks. That was what my hope is. If we're going to do that, then rather than take a break and try to come back at 10:45 at this point. Maybe we should just have you do obviously you get a chance to speak like everyone else. So
I'm sorry, I don't think he gets 15 minutes.
well, I agree with that. 15
Yeah,
minutes is much.
Right, and I don't think we need to share a screen. I know you probably have very prepared your remarks, Commissioner Holtzman, but I think we've all been able to verbally express what we had to say. But yeah, but I agree with Co-Chair Maeda, but I think there is some kind of sense that we want to continue. We'd like the public to come in on these maps. So it sounds like we're moving these forward. So I'd like to make sure we have a way to clarify that after Commissioner Holtzman makes his remark, but I'm not sure I want to take a break. I'm not sure, I think we can move ahead. That's where I'm at to continue.
Okay. Can you make your remarks within, let's say, 5 to 7 minutes?
Look, for fairness, I think you'll need to let me say what I have to say because it really diverges from what I've said so far. If you'd like to cut me off and continue the meeting at another time, that's fine. But I think at this point, I should have the option, and I will have the floor to say what I have to say. It responds to a lot of what we've heard tonight and responds to a lot of public comments.
Okay.
So
let's
let me
get
just
to
launch
it.
into it.
Let's get to it. And if for some reason we feel we need to cut you off, we will.
Okay, thank you.
And we're not sharing the screen.
No, I think that would be illegal to prevent me from showing what I need to show. So I think while I'm talking, please, Ty, promote me to whatever needs to be done to let me share a screen. I don't need to share it immediately. Let's not censor me that way.
I don't think it's illegal.
Let's
And
not
no one
censor
else
me.
is doing that. So.
Well, I could send the files to Ty to see, and he can display them as he's done on other people's requests. But it would be much more efficient for me to display them and move my pointer to show you what I'm talking about. This is weird censorship that I'm getting from everybody here. I don't appreciate it. Polly Latley, you had something to say?
Yes, I was just going to say that it is not illegal to not give you screen sharing privileges, just on that matter of law.
All right, but anyway, I thought
please continue.
Some active censorship. I'll let you know when I get to the part where I think I need to share screen. Okay, back to the script, back to my Word file here. It's funny. The first thing I noted at the top of this, I noted in the middle of this meeting. I just wrote it down. Fellow commissioners, look. Sometimes I think my mission in life is to tell people that they're doing things wrong. And I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I often end up doing it in the most annoying way. I'm sorry if this comes off as annoying, but I think it needs to be done, and it's part of my mission in life. But first of all, to respond to Commissioner Mendoza about economic assets, distributing economic assets and redistricting was a big thing in the city of Los Angeles. There are a lot of you might have seen headlines about USC and putting it in one district or another. Now this distribution, because you were confused about it, helps equalize power among the board or council members because, for one thing, economic engines drive political donations, and for whatever reason, board council members cede control of what goes on in districts to whoever got elected from those districts. So it's a matter of equalizing political power as much as anything else. Now, overall, with the working group maps we've looked at today, I think it's unfortunate that the working group maps have made maps that are similar, very similar. But the worst similarity is that they're too similar to last decade's districts. And that's especially with regard to District 5, from which we haven't heard a hell of a lot of input, except from perhaps around where I live. Now, that Western connection thought that I was thinking about, connecting the north end of the county via Western connection, that thought had not actually set sail or left the station or whatever when Commissioner Kenny said it seemed like it had, but it does seem to seem ready to sink below the horizon. So look, even though I think it's a great idea, and my map with that would have had about 80% of the San Fernando Valley's population contained in one district, I haven't focused on that thought much in the past few days. Now, for the record, I think it's important to state that we never set a policy that communities of interest are any less important for us to keep intact or avoid separating than our cities. And cities' borders often appear to be gerrymanders. So communities of interest may be more important. Or even we don't have a policy saying we're not supposed to split county government defined unincorporated areas. To the extent working group work has been driven by staff or anybody telling them that you have to put cities together, I think that's a problem. Where cities sprawl, I think it would be more than acceptable for us to divide cities, especially gerrymander cities, to avoid dividing communities of interest or separating communities of interest from similar communities. I do that with a map with the stub of Glendale that sticks up into the foothills of the National Forest. Now, with regard to the Tri-Cities area in particular, I need to note that intergovernmental organizations do not necessarily define communities of interest. Some of those may have arisen in part just to lobby particular supervisors in response to historical supervisory districting that we are here to avoid perpetuating. The Tri-Cities idea is something of a political fiction. It's possibly designed to fit the old District 5 or to run an airport. I don't think Pasadena has a ownership stake anymore in the BUR. It used to be Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport. It's not that anymore. It's not even officially Bob Hope Airport anymore. It's now Hollywood Burbank Airport, Hollywood Burbank Airport. So maps should keep Burbank with Hollywood. You know, I know, we all know that the media business is extremely important in Los Angeles. And I will say more about that in a bit. But first, geography. Burbank streets blend into Glendale. But then there is a huge gulf of wildland and sparsely populated area between Glendale and Pasadena. And that's because Glendale and Burbank are in the San Fernando Valley, while Pasadena is outside of it. And also with regards to this Tri-Cities Association, whatever, they're giving special weight to elected officials' requests because they come from elected officials is not what independent redistricting is all about at all. Electeds are often on teams that you might not even know about or parties that you know about that are actually connected to supervisors or people who are actually likely to become future candidates for supervisor. So, they may have political electoral interests in mind that we're probably not supposed to be looking at. Now, I live in Burbank, and I'm saying to you, I'm the only one, as it turns out, who lives in the valley. That's good. Mr. Wine just lives just outside. Anyway, I do not see where this Tri-Cities designation is now useful or realistic to the point where it dictates an overriding need for all three cities to have the same supervisor. Pasadena has the Rose Bowl, Rose Parade. It's called the Pasadena Tournament of Roses, not the Tri-City Tournament of Roses. After the parade, the floats go off for display near San Marino, not Glendale. Now, much of Burbank is in the media business, especially the part west of Interstate 5, but all along Burbank, all the way up to the north border of Burbank, and is in the media business. And it's intimately connected to the neighboring media businesses in the valley, also in the valley, especially Studio City and Sherman Oaks. Okay, now Warner Brothers Animation is headquartered in Sherman Oaks. And then I have to ask, have you never heard of Warner Burbank Studios? Have you ever heard of The Tonight Show, which was coming to you from beautiful downtown Burbank? All part of the same media business area. And of course, the media business is probably what most people worldwide think of when they think of Los Angeles, California. So a plea, please stop thinking about detaching Burbank, which is the keystone of the media business, from the Valley's main media area, of which Burbank is clearly a part, and we're proud of, and the whole Valley is proud of. And also note that my map 93, OP 93, connects this area to North Hollywood, much of Hollywood proper, and to West Hollywood. Many of the media businesses, creative people, and studio executives live or work in those areas. And now it's time I wanted to show my screen and show map, what is it now, 93, if possible. The Valley, I sympathize, has 1.85 million people, still no supervisor elected from there. It is distinct, and Glendale and Burbank are distinct from Pasadena. I mean, just try to drive to the Valley. Just getting here requires going over hills because it's a valley. And if you do get here, look and see the differences. This map, 80, what is it now? Sorry, 93, does not have too much west side with the Valley, which is what the working class heart of the Valley was complaining about. For example, there's no Santa Monica in this District 3, no Venice, no Westwood. So let's see. My file, he'll love this. My file seems to have become corrupted somehow. Maybe I'm going to have to look for a backup version. But at any rate, if I could, because I can't, I've lost the text in subsequent pages. Maybe I could select all, copy and paste it into a new document. Let me see if that works. Paste text only.
Commissioner Houseman, can you move it along, please?
That's it. I'm having tech issues, so I'm sorry. Man, this is difficult. All right, my file has died. I'm sorry, I didn't save changes the last time. Let's see if it pops up again if I try and call it back up. Nope, maybe I ran out of memory. I'm so sorry. So anyway, I guess the point here, which I was going to make, is that if you look at the map 93 now, and I would really appreciate it if Ty would call that up and show it on screen, you'll see that it accommodates almost all of the requests from the community. I had some points to make about Pomona being unique and in its own valley. But all right, you guys are in luck. I have lost what I wrote, and I will try and recover it and send it to you all if I can. Sorry, this is
thank you, Commissioner Houseman.
Problem with tech.
And I was looking at map 93 while Commissioner Holtzman was talking, and I would encourage people to look at it because it's different than the ones we've been talking about in a couple of important ways.
Thank you.
It does put Pomona with SD5 and have it swing down into some of the other areas, but
I was going to point out that it does then connect Pomona with a lot of other working class Latino areas, including Santa Fe Springs and La Mirada, and even Whittier has a lot of that, and connects it all the way up to Palmdale and Lancaster.
Okay,
and
so commissioners should take a look at that one, and there's been some other ones as well that have been submitted. You may want to take another look at 81. I know some of you are interested in that one as well. But I would love to entertain, before we close tonight, entertain a motion to elevate these working group products as, I guess, should we do H and I? Does that make the most sense, rather than have another number to it?
That seems to make it more confusing to me, different
More
letters.
confusing to you? Okay. How do you all feel? Because I personally find it a bit confusing to talk about B. Which one are we on? 4?
Yeah,
But how do you all feel? Any strong feelings about numbering or elevation?
We need to understand, excuse me, know what the current map is, whether it's 3, 4, 5, or 6, whatever it happens to be. It's a B series, or now the other is an F series. So,
okay, we could leave it that way. Commissioner Morales.
I was just going to say it's easier to work with letters, given we know these are iterations, from B and F at this point, and so having the public be able to distinguish between the two, even though they're sort of similar, makes sense.
So it would be B. Is it 4 then?
Correct. B4 and then
B4 and
F3.
F3.
Maybe to make it easier to talk about it, we could make it B hat and F hat with the little caret next to them or something, since this is likely to be the last iteration. Or make them both 5, B5 and F5. I'll shut up now.
Commissioner Kenny?
Yes, the reason that we had kept the numbers is that the B3 superseded B2. And so if we're going to change the way we're doing it, we have to be clear as to whether we're adding these maps to other maps or whether they're superseding. So for that reason, I think it should be B3, B4, and F3.
Okay.
Because there are actually, and then the question is, what are we doing with G? Do these
So
supersede G, or are we now down to 2 maps, or is G still there?
G is still there until we demote it, I guess. But I would suggest we take it a step at a time. Is there a motion to elevate these working group products to B4 and F3 respectively?
Commissioner Stetcher?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Vento and Commissioner Kenny both second. Is there need for further discussion on that specific point? Ty, can we take roll? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Holtzman.
I'll just say that I'm going to oppose this because I really can't support a map that doesn't include Burbank and Glendale with the San Fernando Valley and both of these.
So noted. Let's go ahead and take a vote.
Okay, commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic. Co-Chair Maeda?
Aye.
Commissioner Mendoza?
Aye.
Commissioner Morales?
Yes.
Commissioner Obregon? Commissioner Obregon?
We'll come back to him.
Commissioner Haile Soto?
Yes.
Commissioner Sider Soto?
Can I ask a question for clarification? Or is it too late?
Go ahead.
Is the vote necessary for us to post these for comment?
I think so.
Okay, yes.
Commissioner Stetcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Vento?
Yes.
Co-Chair Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Holtzman?
No.
Commissioner Kenny?
Yes.
Then coming back to Commissioner Obregon?
Yes, I say.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Are there any other motions people want to make?
And I move to also, well, I hate to do this, but to publish map 81,
It's published already.
or I guess to elevate it as one of our considered maps.
Second.
If I might also offer, Pretty has it available to share with the full commission. I realize we have a motion and a second, but it might be good for folks to have it available to look at.
I have a question, clarifying question, please. If we move 81, should we do the same for 93?
The
I'd say
motion
yes.
is for 81, and it's been seconded. Is there, I mean, that's a question, but that can be separately put on the table unless someone wants to amend this motion. Commissioner
Or
Brown,
I'll offer an amendment to just add 93 to the
to
motion.
add 93 as well as 81. Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Morales, your hand is up.
Can I oppose that friendly amendment?
It's not a friendly amendment. It's an
Oh.
amendment to your motion.
Commissioner Morales?
Yeah, so just in terms of what are we trying to do here, folks? Are we can still reference as many maps as we want, but it would be better to focus on the changes that have already been made to reflect the public comment that we've heard. And I think it's coming down to whether SD2 is going to touch the coast and what impact that has on the rest of the county. I may be completely wrong on this, or maybe completely right, but I think that's what we're taking into consideration in the coming public comment and any other tweaking. It seems like we're closer than we actually think we are. So I just want to offer that.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes, in response, Commissioner Morales, I think it's not just a simple tweaking of SD2. The maps, although they seem similar, they have differences that are reflected in, some of the, I don't know, the data and so I think some of us, support the B series, some support the F series, and so at any rate, I don't think it's as simple as one or the other.
Co-Chair Maeda, then Commissioner Mendoza, and then Co-Chair Williams.
I want to affirm Commissioner Morales's view and also to note what should be obvious, which is we have a week to go before our deadline. Let's not be expanding the number of maps that are up for consideration. If folks want to reference other maps and make changes to the maps we have, that's fine. If folks, for whatever reason, are suddenly persuaded that we need to have a whole different process, that's still possible, I guess, and we'll vote on it tonight, whether we elevate these maps. I strongly urge you not to do that.
Commissioner Mendoza, and then Co-Chair Williams.
Yes, I echo both what Commissioner Morales and Maeda have just stated, and I guess a question is map 81 basically a further version from the same group that submitted it? And have we, my understanding was that we've taken prior versions and incorporated what we can and what we thought was appropriate what we thought was appropriate and could do. Is that correct or not?
Co-Chair Williams, you were involved with that group. Did you look at 81?
No, we didn't. We didn't have we didn't have 81 to look at when we did this.
Oh, I see.
Is it not a version? Is it not a version of one that had been submitted by the same group previously?
Right. What 81 is a version of F, and so is F. So we've been working from the initial map that was submitted by People's Block. It has, we just 81 just came into
No.
play for us.
Yes, that I understand, but it is a version. It's not the first one that's come from the People's Block. The People's Block map has been massaged, considered. So that you answered the question. Thank you.
Point of clarification, if I may, the ad hoc working group that did the modified FMAP did look at
78.
81 option.
And we looked at 78 as well.
So there were other maps they looked at, but that one had been pointed out specifically and they looked at it. And there were concerns about the Pomona little finger there and a couple other areas that were mentioned today.
Okay.
Okay, Co-Chair Williams, then Commissioner Holtzman.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with Commissioner Morales. I think we actually don't have a week because we need to have a map chosen by the 12th, which is, it's not a full week. I think if there are points or there are issues that we have with this map, whether we're referencing it from map 81 or whatever, we need to look at it. But I think we're at a point where we need to be elevating maps, narrowing the maps that we're considering. And if we feel we're on the right track and we need to work with a point of concern or a disagreement, we need to do that. But I just think if we keep elevating maps, we're not going to move in it. We're not moving in the direction we need to. We can, again, consider things from another map. We can always reference them. But I just think we need to keep moving this forward and, elevate and get public comments and see what we can do to have one map and have decided on a map by the 12th of December, which is Sunday.
Commissioner Holtzman.
Well, a couple things. One, just in response to getting public comment on just these two maps. I think if we do post any maps for public comment, especially these two maps, we need to clearly indicate that the members of the public are allowed to and encouraged to, if they so feel like it, suggest rejecting both maps in favor of another map. What happened here with the work groups is that the work groups were each given specific material to work with. They were not given free rein to come up with maps based on all the input that we've received and based on their knowledge. So they were just given specific tasks, and I think it's predictable that what's come out here is things that were significantly, that are similar to what they were given to work with, and they're very similar to each other. And the result in the process here seems to be like what you do with children when you want them to choose, something that's acceptable to you, and there's a narrow range of that. So you say, oh, you have to choose between two options that are both in this narrow range. I think the motion on the table would elevate for, specifically call to the attention of the public two maps, especially the 93, which reflect valid perspectives that are not reflected in the first two maps that were mentioned.
Co-Chair Williams, then Commissioner Morales and Commissioner Mendoza.
I'd like to call the question to move ahead on the vote. To vote on that motion, please.
Holly, does that go ahead and automatically create the situation where there's a roll call?
Yes, unless anybody objects to her calling the question, we can move to a roll call. If anybody objects to her calling the question, then we have to have a roll call on calling the question.
Any objection?
I object.
So now we do have to have a roll call on calling the question. And hold on just 1 minute. We do have, I believe, 13 commissioners here tonight, right? We're missing
yes,
1. So we do have to have a vote of 9 for the question to be called. It's a 2/3 vote.
Okay.
So commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic. Commissioner Mendoza.
I am now able to speak. Is that what I'm being told? Or?
We're voting now on whether to move to a vote of the amended motion. So are you in favor of moving directly to a vote on the amended motion or not?
in the amended motion was what?
Elevate, what numbers are we now? 81 and 93, was it?
Yes.
That's the amended motion.
So if before we start the vote, just to make it clear, a yes vote means that you want to stop debate and vote on the amended motion.
Thank you.
A no vote means you want to continue debate.
Yes.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Obregon,
Yes, I want to end the debate.
Commissioner Haile Soto,
Yes.
No. Oh, sorry.
Commissioner Sider Soto,
No.
Commissioner Stetcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Vento,
Yes.
Co-Chair Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Wong,
No.
Commissioner Franklin,
Yes.
Commissioner Holtzman,
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Kenny,
Yes.
Co-Chair Maeda.
All right.
Motion passes.
Okay. Now we directly go to a vote on the amended motion, right?
That's correct.
Can I ask this question? I wanted to ask it before, but if I made a motion, and then somebody amended that motion, so is it allowed that we would vote on the newest motion, but I still get a vote on the original motion?
The way the procedure works on this is that the motion that you made was to move to elevate map 81. And then there was a motion to amend to add to elevate 81 and 93.
93.
And so now we're going to take a vote on that amendment. If the amendment passes, the map you wanted, 81, is elevated. If the amendment fails, then we move to your original motion of elevating only map 81. So you.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
So commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic.
Commissioner Mendoza, do you have your hand up for this? For a question?
No, I had it up to strongly disagree with Commissioner Holtzman's statement about
Okay,
this
there's
notion
no more
that we were
debate.
given something.
There's no more debate.
Okay.
Let's take roll on the amended motion to elevate 81 and 93.
Okay, I would now take roll call. Commissioner Morales,
No.
Commissioner Obregon,
No.
Commissioner Haile Soto,
No.
Commissioner Saida Soto,
No.
Commissioner Stetcher,
No.
Commissioner Vento,
No.
Co-Chair Williams,
No.
Commissioner Wong,
No.
Commissioner Franklin,
No.
Commissioner Holtzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenny,
No.
Co-Chair Maeda,
No.
Commissioner Mendoza.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay. Can we take a vote on the original motion, which was to elevate 81?
Okay, so I would now take roll call. Commissioner Obregon,
No.
Commissioner Haile Soto,
No.
Commissioner Saida Soto,
Yes.
Commissioner Stetcher,
No.
Commissioner Vento,
No.
Co-Chair Williams,
No.
Commissioner Wong,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin,
No.
Commissioner Holtzman,
Abstain pending, well, I'll just abstain. I don't know what it does with Burbank and San
Commissioner
Fernando
Kenny,
Valley.
No.
Co-Chair Maeda,
No.
Commissioner Mendoza,
No.
Commissioner Morales.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay. Commissioner Kenny.
I would like to make a motion to remove map G. I think it's G. Is it G1 from
Correct.
consideration?
Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Franklin seconds. Any further discussion?
The reason I'm making this motion is because the two maps that we have elevated incorporate the input that created map G. So I feel that it is superseded by the two maps that we elevated this evening.
Any further discussion? Let's vote on that motion.
Okay, commissioners, be prepared to unmute your mic. Commissioner Haile Soto,
Yes.
Commissioner Saida Soto,
Yes.
Commissioner Stetcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Bento,
Yes.
Co-Chair Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Wong,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin,
Yes.
Commissioner Holtzman,
Abstain.
Commissioner Kenny,
Yes.
Co-Chair Maeda,
Aye.
Commissioner Mendoza,
Aye.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Any other motion tonight? Thank you very much. I think we accomplished something. Ty will go ahead and publish these two maps so the public has a chance to look at them with the CVAPs and all the other data charts, data layers. B4 and F3 will be whatever the numbers are next when he posts them. Commissioner Mendoza.
Thank you. When I was called on a minute ago, I think maybe you thought I was going to say something different. I was objecting to this notion that the working groups were somehow limited in what they can do and the parameters that they were given, the ability to make, change. So that was not the case. There was no limitations on what it is that the team I worked on could do. Thank you.
Thank you. I only was preventing you from further discussing something after there was a call to the question, which is supposed to lead directly to a vote.
Right. No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. What is, I know it's incredibly late, but what are the next agenda items and whether or not we can, whether we need to take those up tonight or not? Well, we should at least identify them.
Do we need public comment on this?
On this, meaning the next agenda item, if we decide to take it up, I suppose we do.
1 second, I'll pull it up. There are two more agenda items.
Can I also see a hand from Commissioner Saida Soto?
Yes.
Did I miss it? Did Preeti show us map 81?
She did not.
Preeti has it ready.
Co-Chair Williams?
Can we take a 5-minute break? Is that too much to ask? 5 minutes, not 10.
Commissioner Holtzman?
And that is a question for the chair. I'm ready to offer a motion to adjourn for the evening.
The question I guess I have is whether or not we, I agree, we're in no position to meaningfully debate any of these, but I guess I want to let you know, I guess we could defer these unless there's a legal problem of some type that I'm not aware of, but we can defer these to the next meeting. But there is a form resolution, and I know Commissioner Holtzman, you've requested to look at that. There is we were going to discuss a final report. A draft has been circulated to the working group, but I think we're ready to show the entire commission the working draft. It is still just a work in progress at this point. Is that right, Gayla?
Yes, I was going to say my item's very brief. I think it would make sense to put, the part A and part B on a shared folder. Commissioners could read it. The one caveat is we will be getting changes and edits from the working group. So you can read it knowing there may be some modifications to it come Sunday, but that would be your choice. So easy to make it available. So I just thought we'd make that offer.
Commissioner Stetcher.
I wanted to go over possible meeting times or confirmed meeting times and possible other options before we adjourn.
Yes, we should do that.
And I would support making these drafts available on a shared site so that we could begin to look at them if you need an approval. to do so.
Commissioner Holtzman.
I just want to kind of jump in here. I
Yes.
think we've kind of let the agenda get away from us here, and we need to, at least on my item, regarding the draft resolutions, we don't need to cover that. That can be continued to a later item. I don't want to take any more time on that. And if folks can just look at it, and then I'll be prepared to give the same discussion I was tonight. That's not an issue. But are we taking up item 6C? I just think we should be clear for the record if we are.
Let's defer 6C until the next meeting. We could have a more fulsome discussion of it.
If I may, I would like, if the commissioners want to begin to read it, make it available. This is Wednesday. That would give those who want to read it time. And it'll take 1 minute to cover that item.
So we should make sure there's not any public comment on that.
Okay, let's take it up then. 6C. Any public comment on 6C?
I see no one in queue for agenda item 6C.
Okay, no public comment. Go ahead, Gayla.
Okay, so yesterday, there was an interest to know who was appointed to be on the ad hoc working group. So there you see it's the two co-chairs, followed by Commissioner Morales, Kenny, Hyla Soto, and Dorina Wong. The report itself that we'll be posting, the Part A, is what I would sort of say is the document that the public's going to read. I have found in writing many consulting reports over the years, they tend to go to the executive summary. That would be chapter A1. A2 is not written, but there's a template that Holly has prepared of what would be the headers and the subject matters to be covered to document your final map that you select. There is a chapter about lessons learned. Part B is sort of a factual overview of what you have done since December throughout the year. So that, again, is something you can look at. I wanted you to have an idea of how long. The Part A is 19 pages, Part B is 55. The appendices are all a compilation of reports and documents you've ever approved, or have already approved, such as the outreach plan and those kinds of things. So that's my report.
Thank you.
I did have a quick timeline just to point out that the ad hoc working group is to get me their edits and suggested changes by noon on Friday. It's our goal. We will be integrating those changes Friday, Saturday, so we can give it to you on Sunday to review or to look at. That's it.
Commissioner Holtzman.
Clarifying question. You mentioned that there would be a chapter on lessons learned. Is that intended to satisfy the requirement in your firm's agreement with the county to prepare a memo for Los Angeles County regarding lessons learned to guide 2031 redistricting initiative?
Yes, it is. It's in that context, but we felt it should be part of the official report.
Okay.
As
And
part of transparency.
will you separate the required report outlining basis of CRC decisions from the rest of the report?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Your consulting agreement requires you to prepare a report outlining the basis of CRC decisions as a deliverable. Will that be a separate chapter as well?
That's pretty much this whole document. I don't really understand the question.
Well, I don't really understand the contract then. All right, thank you.
So we'll be submitting this report as part of the documentation of the work done.
Okay, and upcoming meetings. Gayla, you're muted. There you go.
Okay, so we did the doodle survey. Thank you all for your quick turnaround and response. And guess what? We get a quorum, a good turnout on Friday, December 10th at 1 o'clock, which will be the first daytime meeting you've had, but I think you'll be very fresh. We can pick up and looking at the map options. We are going to post another tentative meeting for the time that was also viable for Saturday, December 11th, 9 a.m. That is a placeholder based on how far you get on Friday. You still have your Sunday, December 12th special meeting at 3 o'clock. That absolutely is the point where you have to have your final map. There will be no way that we can do the documentation required to submit everything that has to be submitted by December 15th to the registrar recorder. We are suggesting an earlier start time of 5 o'clock on December 15th. In many ways, it would be good if it could be even earlier in the day, because in our communications with the registrar recorder, they want to be sure they receive all of the materials. Their staff are there till 5 o'clock. So earlier would be better, but I am making this suggestion.
Commissioner Wong.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I just have a quick question about, if we can't make it to let's say the Friday meeting, is there a way for us to kind of weigh in if decisions are being made, at that time?
What do you mean weigh in at that time if you're not there?
I mean, sorry, I wasn't clear. So if there's going to be decisions, say, to either move forward with, let's say, the B3 or B4 or F3, or is there a way we could, I could give a proxy for my vote?
No, you need to be present at the meeting to make the vote. There's no proxy voting.
So there's no proxy voting, but if you wanted to provide input ahead of time, I'm sure you can provide that to somebody, and then that person who's attending could convey it. But they can't carry your vote, I guess is the answer
Right.
to that.
Can you just pop in to vote and then leave?
Well, that would not be advisable, since they would not have understood any of the things that went into that particular vote. But I don't know, Holly, whether that's
situational. I wouldn't advise it either, because you haven't heard the full debate.
okay. Hopefully that's just a hypothetical. But anything else that we can productively do? So those who can make it, please look for the Zoom for this Friday, 1 p.m. And between now and then, there's still stuff to do. So thank you so much for all of your work. But we are adjourned at 11:22. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.